that I wear around, and the pajamas and everything.
Like Bill's choice of sleepwear.
But the bottom line is,
nighties.
Yeah,
Did you just say you wear nighties?
Yeah, a long t-shirt. Isn't that what a t-shirt is? Oh, real quick, I just looked up what 90s were. No, I don't wear those.
Whatever you say, Bill.
Right, that. Where'd Jen go? I think Jen's on the floor laughing right now. I didn't realize what those were. I apologize. That's not what I thought they were at all.
Just keep telling yourself you're a bull. You're a bull. The early game on your home of the Gamecocks.
Well, they were honestly just like nightgowns.
107.5 The Game.
Welcome in on a Tuesday morning, February the 15th, where I am bundled up as if I'm going on an expedition into the Antarctic. At the puffer, I've got two hooded. I've got a jacket with a hood on it. I've got a shirt with a hood on it. I've got a winter hat on.
It's 35.
And I've just had enough. You ever just you reach the point where you've just had enough? Like after this weekend, I was wearing shorts on Saturday. I was wearing shorts out at Austin soccer game. It felt great. We said we'll sit outside on Thursday afternoon and enjoy the Phoenix Open, the Waste Management Phoenix Open. Friday was not a bad day. Like it was a beautiful day. Saturday again was in the 70s. Sunday cooled off, obviously a good bit. Still wasn't ridiculous. I've just had enough. Woke up this morning and I'm done with it. I'm ready. I kind of got a little depressed yesterday. I was looking at a calendar that told me that daylight savings time is still like 4 weekends away. I think it's March 6th, I believe, is when we switch over to
Yeah, and I don't like that.
Yeah, we've discussed that. And you've gotten my hopes up multiple times when we get into this discussion that they're going to do away with daylight savings time, only for it to never, ever happen.
Yeah, I'm hopeful, but like, kids, quit messing with us. Don't take that hour away.
Forward.
Yeah, so we'll lose an hour.
But it stays lighter longer.
So
Which
it
I'm
would
cool with.
actually be 7 o'clock.
Right now. Mhm.
Technically, yes, you would
Yep.
be correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so there you go. So helping Patrick this morning as we learn about.
It will confuse me every time forever, but thankfully the phone just does it itself. So I'll just look at my phone and then change my manual alarm clock. Probably leave the car on the time it is for a couple days,
Attaboy.
weeks, until I finally remember to change it. And it'll be easy. But I do agree, I'm ready. The weekend, I guess it's nice that the 2 beautiful days we had were on the weekend, but getting a weekend like we just had and trying to put the boat in the water, that'll be a good live stream. It was quite an eventful day. The ending is that the boat battery died in the water and we had to pull it in with ropes, and it was it was a fun day.
Yeah, we might get into some Peretz thoughts from the couch this weekend, because that sounds like a storyline to
It
certainly.
was something. The water in Lake Greenwood was 43 degrees, and my dad had to wade in so he could pull the ropes. It was a bit of a nightmare. But when you get that weekend and then come back and it's 35 degrees at night, and it's just not good. It's not good for the body. It's not good for it's not good for your core temperature. It's how you get sick, and it's just really not fair.
We'll get into that. That sounds like a story to follow. Plenty of other things that we will jump into this morning as well. Obviously, you start to move on from the Super Bowl and things start to die down a little bit as it pertains to what's happening in the sporting world, but there is still a good bit to get into that we will cover this morning. It'll range from South Carolina and Mississippi tonight on you can hear it right here on 107.5. The game 7 o'clock is when that game will take place. South Carolina looking to win 2 in a row now, Patrick. They will travel to Oxford, a place where, quite frankly, I don't know the last time I ever remember. I'd have to go back. I didn't even think about this until I just started to mention it. The game will be again 7 p.m. tonight, ESPNU. You can hear it right here on 107.5 The Game. But I really, in the overall scheme of things, South Carolina is 16-20 against Mississippi. They lost last year at Mississippi 76-50, a game they were down by 15 to start or at the end of the first half. They've lost their last 3 to Mississippi, to be honest with you. And here's what I was looking for. They are 2-13 in Oxford. This is not a place that they go and play particularly well at there in Oxford. And Patrick, tonight I'm not saying it's the last stand. We may have already crossed that threshold with the Tennessee game and maybe the Mississippi State game, but certainly if South Carolina can go on the road and get a victory, maybe you stay interested for the weekend when LSU comes to town. And again, just to remind that one text messenger from last Friday, the university has already put out that it will be Legends Weekend with honoring an ACC championship team and the 1997 SEC championship team. So it will be Legends Weekend, and maybe a win keeps people semi-interested in the fact that they'll show up to the game on Saturday at 3:30, ready to try and cheer on a victory.
I mean, there's only there's only 3 home games left, so if nothing else, it's a chance to see a good team. Colonial Life or any other couple games left. When is senior night? Is that Missouri?
Yes, that would be Missouri there. I believe
Who's
that is
actually
March 1st.
Who's actually getting recognized?
I'm not sure on the transfers. I believe A.J. Wilson is officially out of eligibility. I believe there's one other. I think James Reese is out of eligibility. I know Eric Stevenson has a year left.
Did anyone that started their career at South Carolina, are there any seniors?
I technically no, because of the COVID year, but Cousinard and Bryant
should count.
Would be, and I think they'll be honored on senior night. It's hard to believe that they will come back. I think they're both ready, according to multiple people, that it sounds like they're both ready to move on. So we'll get into Mississippi and South Carolina a little bit this morning. We'll also get into a little bit of first pitch. John Whittle of the Big Spur expected to join us at 8:05 this morning as we get you ready. Now, unfortunately, right now as we sit here at 6:09 on a Tuesday morning, the weather forecast does not look like it may want to cooperate with first pitch on Saturday. We'll continue to monitor this throughout the weekend. Certainly not the way you want to start the baseball season with a rain out. But as of now, as I sit here and look at my weather app on my phone, it's supposed to be decent. We talk about the temperature. It's supposed to not be too bad on Friday afternoon, but it is supposed to be
70.
Yeah, it's supposed to be, but about what are you seeing? You seeing 52% chance? What do you got over there?
60, yeah.
60.
I was
Okay.
I was seeing morning showers. So
Okay. Yeah, mine doesn't tell me what exactly. We all should sit down and have lunch together and trade information on our weather apps to know what exactly we've got.
Just never ever check the weather.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, it's gotten to the point now I wake up every morning and check. A matter of fact, we had soccer last night. I was a little tired. Valentine's Day. We didn't really do anything special. Came home and had dinner. But as I was trying to get dressed this morning, I'm yelling at Alexa. I don't have an Alexa in the bedroom. I'm just I was trying to talk to my phone, whose name is Siri. I was trying to ask, but I was asking Alexa what the weather was to try and figure out just how I needed to dress for the day. And after about 4 minutes of yelling at Alexa, I realized, I'm yelling at the wrong one. I should just ask Siri what the weather is.
Oh, you can change the name on your phone and it will call you whatever you want it to be called.
Yeah, but I'm asking it. I'm not
I
asking
know.
it to call me.
I'm just going one step further to let you know that if you're wanting to personalize your experience, once you figure out which device you're using, if you want to say, "Hey, my name is Big Daddy," or whatever, then you can actually have it.
That was Bill's nickname in high school.
I thought maybe that's why.
I like
kinda
that. That's
wanted
the first
yeah.
name after Valentine's Day that you go to.
I-
I'm glad you went to it right off the bat, not more in the 7 o'clock hour, which is more of the kid friendly hour. It's good to know that's where you're at this morning. 803-404-6100. So we'll get into a little bit of baseball. We'll get into some basketball. Andy weighs in, says, "Have a little faith with the basketball team, fellas. I hear you loud and clear. The game is huge, but that's trying to sound so much optimistic." Yeah, we'll see. Again, tonight I'll look up and see what exactly the spread is for tonight, as South Carolina, again, 2-13 all time in Oxford as they head over there, 7 o'clock. Again, you can hear that game right here on 107.5 The Game. You can also catch it on ESPNU will be the way to do that. So we'll get a little bit into that. They are actually, Patrick, you want to take a ballpark figure on what South Carolina is tonight? They are underdogs. I'm actually surprised as I looked at this. I thought it would be double what the number is.
5.5.
Not bad. You figured you weren't going to go too high. That 4.5 at BetMGM, 4 at Caesars. So we'll see tonight. Something to keep an eye on. Clemson tonight at Florida State. Florida State a 1.5 point favorite per both BetMGM and Caesar Sportsbook. couple other basketball games tonight. Should be actually a pretty good night. Villanova and Providence. I don't know if anybody is a Big East fan. I don't know how many of you out there can watch other college basketball that doesn't involve your teams, but Villanova Providence is a top 15 matchup tonight that'll take place at Providence and should be a lot of fun to get into. So you do have some good sports tonight,
Kentucky,
Patrick.
Tennessee is
I
tonight.
I was getting to that. That'll be the 9 o'clock game on ESPN. Kentucky traveling to Tennessee, and Tennessee a 1.5 point favorite, depending on where you look at. So we'll get into a little bit of college basketball, start to break that down because it's about a month from now, the weekend of March 12th, 13th, that will be the opening weekend. I believe that's no. March 19th is first weekend. March 12th, 13th will be the conference championship weekend. So it'll be about this time next month that we'll be wrapping up college basketball season. And it'll also be, just for those of you looking ahead, March 12th, March 11th, 12th, and 13th will be the weekend Texas visits Columbia to take on South Carolina in baseball. So
this is the time of the year that a lot of people start to fully invest themselves into college basketball because football's finally over. There's nothing else to distract you with, and really, it's the only sport on that a lot of people care about. And then you want to have a little bit of a knowledge base for when you make your brackets and get into March Madness and recognize some of the players and names and who some of the teams are. So this is your 1 month to binge college basketball and try and get a feel for everything.
It is. And Jen, I saw you tweet, I forget what exactly it was you put out on Twitter yesterday, maybe Sunday, about the Cubs. I think it was something on Sunday. You were talking about watching the Super Bowl. Something not being really discussed because we should be moving toward, I don't know the exact date, usually when pitchers and catchers start to report to spring training, but I don't know if anybody's paid attention. Major League Baseball's still in a lockout. There's
Yeah.
there's
Now
no
they
real
don't want to pay the
movement.
minor leaguers.
Huh?
Now they don't want to pay the minor
Yeah,
leaguers.
we can get into this a little bit today. Major League Baseball is 2 months into a lockout, and there really is not any progress being made toward a new collective bargaining agreement. So that celebration that to kick off the start of the Atlanta Braves season at Truist Park or wherever to welcome back home the now defending World Series champions may have to wait a little while because as of right now, it doesn't really feel like Major League Baseball is going to be starting on time. It is actually, I think yesterday was day 71 since the league locked out the players. The Major League Baseball Association, they have made minimal tweaks to the elements of the deal. It's added $2 million a year to the competitive balance tax threshold in 2024, 2025, and 2026. In other words, I have no clue what they've added right there. The competitive balance threshold was something I did not expect to use in a sentence today. They are expected to meet again at some point this month, but right now there's no plans for a bargaining session. And quite frankly, it doesn't just seem like either side is working that hard to form a deal. According to ESPN, the two sides are not getting any closer at all to really being able to formulate something. So spring training supposed to start here, I think this Tuesday, today or next Tuesday was one of the two. Again, I'm not sure on which one it was, but right now, Patrick, Major League Baseball, which is about this time of year, people will be talking about South Carolina baseball, be talking a little bit about the Braves, talking about Major League Baseball. We don't appear to be moving anywhere closer to seeing your Nationals get back out on the field.
I just am guessing that it's gonna work out because it always does, and I'm just speculating that they just don't want to play spring training. They don't want to play however many 20 something. I don't know how many spring training games. A lot of spring training games. They just don't feel like doing that. So they'll just have a shortened spring training and then get out there and be fresh. I will always assume that it's going to get worked out and there's no reason really for them to rush it, but ultimately they're not going to let games be canceled again after they just went through that.
That's a good question. I don't know what the importance of having spring training games really
I know the
are.
veterans hate it.
Because as I look at this, the spring training schedule is supposed to start 11 days from today, the February 26th. And most articles you look at, obviously, you never know. These negotiations can be reached at any point. As Todd points out, I'm just being negative, but I don't think Todd's been looking at or paying attention to what exactly is going on and the lack of effort almost made by either side to resolve the differences. But Major League Baseball,
negative.
huh?
Yeah, even being negative.
No, we're just
I think we
reading,
and
and
we haven't been paying attention. We don't really know.
Yeah, just reading and telling you what others are saying. So, but if you want to weigh in, we're more than happy to have you with your opinion this morning. 803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in and join us. Kyle, Craig, Larry, Robin, all up and at 'em this morning. Kyle weighing in, the Major League Baseball season is so unbearably long anyways. It won't hurt if they
I
miss a few
agree.
months.
Just
So
play
it's
100 games. I don't care.
narrow it down this morning.
I wish they would play 100 games because then we could just know, 50 and 50 is 500 and 60 and 40 is like I don't like having to add numbers to get to 162.
Two other stories that we'll get into this morning. One, a more important NFL story, Patrick, and potentially another quarterback that could be on the market, if not maybe in the offseason, maybe in another year to come. The Kyler Murray situation out in Arizona, as he yesterday was labeled by some as a finger pointer and kind of a locker room cancer. He has responded with all of this nonsense is not what I'm about. Kyler Murray's an interesting guy, number one pick. And now you're getting into that part. We spent a lot of last week talking about Josh Allen, talking about Joe Burrow, talking about Patrick Mahomes, all these young up and coming quarterbacks. Throw Lamar Jackson in there, having already won an MVP. Kyler Murray did have a really good season under Cliff Kingsbury, but it feels like now this little experiment of Kingsbury and Murray is coming to a close, and I don't know where the Cardinals stand. I want to get your opinion on that this morning and maybe where Kyler Murray is at when we talk about these young quarterbacks, and then a more lighthearted story for all of us who either A, didn't lose $9.5 million on the Super Bowl, or if you won a little money at your local square pool, or if you won some money, wagering a couple cans of soda against your buddies. Mattress Mac. If you're not familiar with Mattress Mac, he is the owner, Jim McGingelval. Am I saying that correctly?
I have no idea. I never even knew that was his last name.
Yeah. He is the owner of Galleria Furniture in Houston, Texas. In case you haven't heard the story, $9.5 million is what he will no longer be the owner, or what he no longer is as of Sunday night. That's how much he lost betting on the Cincinnati Bengals to win the Super Bowl.
All he had to do was bet the spread.
All he had to do was listen to our show and take how did he lose?
I took the spread. I won.
Yeah, he took them straight, took the Bengals straight up, but he could have listened to our show and won a couple props and maybe cut some of his losses in half.
4 for 4.
Yeah. He is a beloved icon in Houston. He owns Gallery Furniture, and in a weird thing, he has garnered national attention by placing big sports bets and attempting to offset his losses with promotional giveaways at his store. He says he lost his bets when the Bengals lost a late lead and fell to the Rams 23-20 Sunday night. The Bengals covered the 4-point spread, but he had bet on the money line, which he needed the Bengals to win. He also ran a promotion that offered customers who spent at least $3,000 on mattresses and furniture at his store their money back if the Bengals won.
Yep. I saw a video of someone did an instant reaction just filming him like, Mac, how you feeling? It's like, yeah, well, I'm pretty upset. I'm upset for the customers. That's who I'm upset for. I would not want a camera in my face after I just lost $9.5 million. Although I don't know how much money he really has. It's got to be ridiculous.
Well, it's a lot less than it was. It's $9.5 million less than it was. That much we know for sure. Although maybe
how much it is. How many? What is Gallery Furniture? Is like everyone in Houston.
It's a big
homes.
It's a big one. I don't know if we have one around here. I mean, it's I believe if I'm thinking
it's nationwide.
I believe it's a nationwide chain of furniture stores. I believe. I could be wrong about that.
The closest one is in Smithfield, North Carolina.
There you go. All right. So we've got that going for us. So we'll get into that a little bit this morning, get back into that Kyler Murray thing, talk a little college basketball with you. If there's anything that you want to weigh in on this morning, feel free to hop on and join us. Change the subject a little bit. 803-404-6100. Gamecock Will hits us up, says, if baseball doesn't play this season, professional baseball is done. Yeah, it's done in all caps. I think they'll play. It's just a matter of when they'll play. I'd be shocked if they aren't. This is where I do agree with Todd. I'd be shocked if they aren't playing by May.
Yeah.
I just don't know if they'll actually start on time, which would be a little bit of a bummer. But Gamecock Will weighing in there. Also, Rooster P telling me that by continuing to say Alexa, his his truck or whatever in his truck kept coming on. He asked me to stop that. So a lot going on this morning already. Plenty for us to get into. Again, if you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100. That's how you can be a part of the program via the Love Chevy phone lines or via the text line. You can also, as always, join us on the Buford Lending live stream. Again, a lot of people up and Adam with us this morning. I see Michael. Again, Kyle's on there. Kevin, DC, Jerry, Trey, Anthony. Everybody up and at it, and you can go to the Buford Lending live stream where, again, it looks like I'm ready to head off to the Arctic on an expedition because it is chilly outside. So if you're getting up, you're getting moving, bundle up, bundle the kids up, make them look like what was the other kid? What was Ralphie's little brother? We did this a few weeks ago in Christmas Story.
I don't know his name.
Randy. Bundle the kids up like Randy this morning and get them out to school. We'll carry on with some sports talk, get into Patrick's story about trying to put the boat in the water as well. There's a lot for us to cover this morning. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
This is South Carolina head women's basketball coach Dawn Staley, and you're listening to the home of the Gamecocks, WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia, 107.5 The Game.
Oh, as I look at our live stream, Robin's saying that she loves her app, but her tire light came on because it's so cold this morning. Maybe want to get that checked out. And if you're looking for a great service department, you always hear me talk about Love Chevrolet and the fantastic selection of vehicles they have, the incredible low price they have, that awesome sales staff they have. But you know what? They got a great service department as well over there. It's led by Mackie. They do a great job. You can go take your car over there. I trust them. When I need some work done to the Tahoe, I go visit the great folks at Love Chevrolet and that incredible service department full of professionals that know how to diagnose and get any issues with your car or truck fixed instantly, get you back on the road. So if you're looking for a great service department, Love Chevrolet, that's just another feather in their cap that they're able to help you with. Go find out for yourself. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. You can also go out and check them if you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe even a certified pre-owned vehicle. Whatever it is, Love Chevrolet has got you taken care of this morning. So go visit them and find out what I'm talking about. Either it's the largest selection of vehicles anywhere in the Midlands, 14 acres. It's the $1,000 low price guarantee where you can shop other dealerships and take it back to the folks at Love Chevrolet and they'll top it. Or again, that sales staff, many of those sales members have been over there for over 20 years. That's the kind of experience you want when looking for a new vehicle. So if you're in the market for a new or certified pre-owned vehicle, Love Chevrolet is your one-stop shop. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park or on the web, lovechevy.com. Get out to Love Chevrolet and find new roads.
107.5 The Game traffic.
Robin, which weather app do you use? That would be the question. What's all our go-to weather apps? Why is it every time I look up at like a Burger King commercial, I'm like, oh, that might be delicious. But then when I eat have you eaten? You're not a Burger King eater, are you?
There's not really a convenient Burger King for me to go to, but I like the original chicken sandwich.
Every time I look at Burger King, because I used to eat Whoppers in my early 20s. That was actually my go-to as opposed to Big Macs. I liked a good Whopper. And now if I eat a Whopper, like oh, it'll be fine. I'll feel it'll be a good little snack. And then like 30 minutes later, I'm like, that was an awful decision to eat a Whopper.
If I'm getting a burger, fast food burger, I'm going Baconator.
Going where?
Baconator from Wendy's.
I don't know who that is either.
Scotty Scheffler winning the Waste Management was his first ever tour win.
I think so.
Didn't know that. Thought it was really good.
I think you're thinking of another one.
Scotty Scheffler. He's really
You
good.
might be thinking
right?
of Schauffele. Are you thinking
No,
of?
I know Xander Schauffele, but Scotty Scheffler's a big name in golf. I thought he was like a top 20 player.
Huh?
Thought he was like a top 20 player.
Tuesday morning, February the 15th, 6:30 a.m. here on the early game. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrett, Jen Jensen, as we get you through another week here. That was part of what we were talking about, is just warmer weather, especially with college baseball season set to get underway this coming weekend at Founders Park. South Carolina and UNC Greensboro set to have a 3-game slate here at Founders Park over there. We've been talking a little bit about that. And again, what we were discussing is just flat out warmer weather. John Whittle will join us this morning about 7:35 a.m. to give us the complete breakdown. South Carolina having their final set of scrimmages this past weekend, Patrick, to get ready for the beginning of the season. Kind of the big news, Julian Bosnick will not be available this weekend, not expected to be back until at least the Clemson series, maybe a little bit after that. But Will Sanders looking very good on the mound so far during the preseason, and will be the guy that gets the opening day start, whenever that may be, whether it's Friday afternoon or if anything gets pushed back to Saturday. As of right now, several of you weighing in on the text line saying that your weather apps, we're all debating weather apps. Now I've never felt quite as old as I did until last week when I was talking about something completely different. But we're all debating the weather apps, and many people saying that a lot of those rain showers coming in will be in the morning, which should open the door for a 4 p.m. first pitch this coming Friday over at Founders Park. The other thing we kind of stumbled into a little bit, Patrick, is Major League Baseball season, currently in the middle of a labor stoppage, and we'll see if they are able to get that thing going. I did look it up. It looks like that, if I'm reading this correctly, it looks like today, Patrick, was the day that pitchers and catchers were supposed to start reporting. It's not next Tuesday. It was actually today. Again, I don't know the importance of spring training in terms of how many games you feel you need to get in to feel comfortable starting with the opening weekend.
It's more important for the pitchers, right? I mean, isn't that all that really matters, is them getting their arms right?
I would
Like for
assume.
the hitters, I mean, yeah, they want to see they want to see full speed pitches and like game action. But if you're a little rusty to start the season, so what? As long as everyone's playing on the same level playing field, it doesn't matter. I mean, if one person gets more time to prepare for the season than someone else, and that's, I guess, a competitive disadvantage. But you see sloppy football all the time at the beginning of the season, especially with the preseason being minimized. You see lots of penalties and sloppiness overall at the beginning, and it's just kind of how it is, and they'll adjust. So I don't see why, as long as there's enough time for the pitchers to warm their arms up so they don't get hurt, why they really need spring training or an extended spring training.
At this point, two things that stand out. This is an update from yesterday on ESPN.com. You can go and check it out. It basically just says, are the owners and players talking? How should baseball fans be worried? There's two specific questions that kind of come to this when we're talking about it. It says, isn't spring training supposed to start this week? The answer is sure is. Pitchers and catchers were due to report to some teams as early as today or Tuesday. At a news conference following the owners' meeting last week, Manfred declined to say officially that the league was postponing spring training, even though it was obvious. Next up is the postponement of spring training games, which are scheduled to begin February 26th. Those are not happening either, and Major League Baseball will need to actively cancel them in this case because tickets to games have been sold. There's also a question here. It says, how concerned should fans be at this point? The answer, according to ESPN, is quite. At the meeting Saturday, Major League Baseball set a deadline to make a deal in time to salvage opening day as February 28th. And goes on to say again on this ESPN article, that is a soft deadline. And if an agreement came together on March 3rd, it's difficult to imagine the league won't be ready by March 31st. At the same time, it gives two sides that are meeting infrequently 2 weeks to figure out how to bridge a massive financial gap in a way that's makes everybody happy to an angry group of players and an unwavering group of owners. Goes on to say this is not 1994 yet, but in rhetoric and trajectory, it's starting to feel an awful like 1981 when a mid-season player strike took out more than a month of the season, canceling 713 games. You can go check out that article and more information on ESPN.com. 803-404-6100. Let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines. Alvin is up this morning. Alvin, how you doing? What's on your mind?
Yeah, I'm doing not too good. I'm very positive. How you doing? You have a great show.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm very upset. I'm ready to fall on my sword. I'm going to say how I feel. I'm an avid sports fan. I love football, the Gamecocks. I love basketball, I love hockey. I love baseball. And I'm not trying to, I don't even have a question. I'm just wondering, what the heck are these guys thinking? This is a great sport. How they learn? What does it take them to learn? 1981, 1994, we really lost baseball. The great game. The Cubs, the 7 Smith. You know all about baseball. I love football. I'm ready to fall on my sword if this sport goes on. I'm very concerned. What is going on with these clowns? What are they thinking, man? What is wrong with them? I'm very angry. This makes no sense. Let's say the sport goes under. Some teams are not going to survive. The sport may not survive. Can you imagine a life without baseball, hot dogs, apple pie, everything? Can you imagine that? What are they thinking? I don't know even want to ask you. Somebody help me. Somebody please tell me why I shouldn't fall on my sword if this sport goes under. I adore sports. I play baseball. I play football, basketball, everything. I'm totally upset. I'm very angry. And that's not me. Everybody's talking about how nice a guy I am. But right now, I'm very angry. I need help. Talk to me.
Okay.
What are they thinking, man?
Yeah, you look, I mean, obviously right now
This is not me, but I'm so upset. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say obviously, and thank you for the phone call, Alvin. Appreciate the phone call. Feel better. Look, there's still time.
I love his passion, though.
There
You
is
know
a
what?
that
Somebody
is-
needs to be listening to him.
well, what we should ask Alvin is how much coffee it takes to be that angry or that upset. He's not angry, he's passionate. It's a good point.
Absolutely.
At
Said, "Help
6:30.
me."
6:37 in the morning. We know Gamecock Larry's strategy is
scared.
liver pudding and yeah, but
He's scared of not having baseball.
opening day is fun. I agree. To answer your
Absolutely.
question, I don't know. I'm with Alvin on this. Baseball continuously shoots itself in the foot in trying to gain popularity and win back younger viewers. Count me in that. I think Patrick, you said you're entering a stage of life that I have been in for several years where basically you get to about mid-March and baseball really starts to take hold, and you're like, "You know what? This is the year I'm gonna watch more baseball.
Yep.
This is it. This is the year I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna be an older man, I'm gonna crack a beer or fix a drink late in the afternoon, watch a couple innings of baseball. It's a relaxing sport. It's gonna help me kinda fall asleep," only then to get to August and realize you've watched 7 innings the entire year.
Yeah, because then you realize, wait, the Nats are on 4 times a week, the Gamecocks are on 3 times a week. That's like 25 hours of baseball, and then I just get overwhelmed by how much there is, so I'm like, if I'm not gonna watch all of it, I'm not gonna watch any of it, so I just don't end up watching baseball until the playoffs. And if
So
the Nationals aren't in the playoffs, I don't watch them.
yeah, it's that thing. I don't know. We'll see. Again, revenue sharing is a big deal here. The league wants to keep its revenue sharing plan in place rather than move to the Players Association offer of $30 million less going to lower revenue teams. And it doesn't want to change the arbitration system. There's a lot to it. There's a lot of stuff that I don't fully grasp in terms of money. And I think that's the big thing. That's where Alvin's going with that and where his passion lies this morning. The fact that this is all about money, and it's a bunch of millionaires arguing over more millions and how they can basically break the bank and maybe cost fans more money at the front office, or excuse me, at the front gate there at the ticket office, maybe the concession stands, and nobody is particularly thrilled about that in the
Do you
long run.
do you think you could name a player on every team?
No.
Not even close.
Major League Baseball, and this is going to be weird to say. I was a avid baseball card collector growing up. Like, had binders and I still have shoeboxes and shoeboxes full of baseball cards. And at that point in my life, probably from about 8 to 14, I was very familiar with Major League Baseball through the use of baseball cards, collecting opening tops packs, upper deck, Don Russ. I mean, did you ever get into baseball card collecting? Were you
No.
ever an avid collector?
No, not avid, no.
Did you? I don't know if that was past your. There was a time in the 90s.
I had cards, but it wasn't just baseball cards either. I had lots of football cards.
See, I wasn't a huge NBA or NFL card, football or basketball card. I collected baseball. I would go to baseball. I'd have my dad take me to baseball card shows. I mean, that was, you'd cut the grass and you get 8, 10, $12 or whatever. You'd have the big trades with your buddy. I think the biggest one, I traded a bunch of cards for some kind of Frank Thomas rookie card one time. It was basically the equivalent of the Herschel Walker to the Cowboy or to the Vikings deal, where I got like 15 cards in exchange for a really good Frank Thomas. Yeah, it was a massive deal. I'll never forget. I was at my buddy's house, and he basically kept me up all hours of the night. We were like 12 years old, and he kept me up all hours of the night negotiating with me on this Frank Thomas deal. And finally, I think at like 6 a.m., he just wore me down, and I agreed to it just so I could go to sleep. But I don't know if other people collected baseball cards in the same manner that I did. And then I kind of moved on from it. I have a retirement book full of Pete Rose cards if they'll ever let him into Cooperstown. Like, if his cards ever take off, the reason you won't see me on the show is
Because
because
of that card.
the Pete Rose, all the about 160 Pete Rose cards I have, finally the profit came in from that.
Could you name a player on the Cleveland Guardians?
Currently, like
Right now.
Albert Bell is not there anymore, I believe.
I don't think so.
Uh, was Omar Vizquel a shortstop there? Does that ring a bell?
The name, yeah.
Okay. No, I have no clue. The Cleveland Guardians.
That was one where I was just scrolling through the teams, and I was like, there's no way I know anyone. But I do know the name Shane Bieber. He's a good pitcher.
Shane Beamer?
Bieber.
Bieber. Oh, okay.
Bieber.
Is he's the okay, yeah. So there we have there's our baseball knowledge of man. It's limited.
That's going to be our MLB preview. We will name you a player on every team. We'll just go around. So if someone asks, hey, who's your favorite player on the Athletics? You can say
Well,
Matt Chapman.
it's Richard weighs in this morning on the text line. How many people care if Major League Baseball isn't played? It's the sport that has suffered the most from PEDs. If they do zero tolerance on that, then I think the sport will get back to origins and watchable again with stolen bases, defense, pitching, hitting. I think here's the part about that with Major League Baseball. Braves fans care. I'm not sure. I think they did a study a couple years ago about television ratings, and like television ratings locally, like even for the Pittsburgh Pirates, was up. television ratings nationally for like the ESPN game of the week
Mhm.
or the Fox game of the week was down. But if you're like a Braves fan, the regional sports networks are doing fairly well. They're still pulling in viewers. We'll continue talking about this. We'll also get into I want Patrick's take on the Kyler Murray situation in Arizona. That could be another quarterback on the market. And I guess a big question for that is Patrick, now after a few years, where do you put Kyler Murray in that young
Yeah.
quarterback list? We'll talk about that. We'll get back into the Mattress Max stuff. If you want to weigh in, I see plenty of the text messages coming in. John, great question. Ricky Vaughn still in Cleveland? I think he got traded. You know who Ricky Vaughn is, right?
Oh, from the movie?
Wild Thing,
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
That's it.
It
You know what? It's
No,
time
I
to
don't.
time to pull that out.
I won't know names from baseball movies. There's too many. There's more baseball movies than anything, right?
I think so, yeah. It's a lot easier to recreate baseball movies, like recreate playing baseball than it is football. Like, I was watching The Longest Yard the other day
Yeah.
and just it was
The action scenes.
yeah.
Nelly was good though.
Nelly was very turns out Nelly was quite the running back.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
There were a lot of those memes popping up on Twitter after Alvin Kamara's incident in in Las Vegas last week.
Excellent work. Excellent work. 803-404-6100. You can also, again, go to youtube.com, search 1075 The Game, and you can jump on our Buford Lending live stream and weigh in as well there. You're listening to the early game on 1075 The Game. Oh, spring cleaning. We were talking about the weather. We were talking about the time changing. That also probably means you're about to do some spring cleaning. I've got one team that will be your MVP, though. Will save you a lot of time. That is Zero Res. Give them a phone call today, 803 262 4020. If you mention my name, Bill Gunner, and 1075 The Game, you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for $109 plus a free hallway. How about that for being an MVP, coming and taking care of you and your family? Zero Res will get that taken care of for you. Make your rugs, your tile, your upholstery all look insanely clean with their patented ZR water technology that doesn't leave a sticky, soapy residue behind. Your carpets actually will stay cleaner longer. That ZR water technology that Zero Res uses is scientifically proven, again, to get those rugs, the tile, the upholstery insanely clean. Find out for yourself what I'm talking about, 803 262 4020, or you can book online, ZeroResColumbia.com. Again, mention my name, Bill Gunner, and 1075 The Game, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for $109 plus a free hallway. Oh, just think about how happy that's going to make the rest of the family when they show up for that big St. Patrick's Day party you're already planning here in about a month. Go ahead and get that room, that house, get it nice and clean, the upholstery on the furniture. Call Zero Res today, 803-262-4020, or book online, ZeroResColumbia.com. Zero Res, spell it forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
This text from Les saying the Kurt Warner story, American Hero, is a great movie. This guy just texted in the Kurt Warner story. American Hero is a great movie. First of all, it's called American Underdog. Second of all, there's a 0% chance that's a great movie. There's absolutely no chance that it's a good movie. I mean, maybe the story's fine and Kurt Warner does have an interesting life and it's an inspirational story, but I watched the videos of Zach, what's his name? Zach something. He played Shazam, and he does not know how to hold a football. He certainly doesn't know how to throw a football. I would never watch that movie.
I mean,
I would never in a million years watch that movie.
technically, maybe who is that? Is that Les?
Yeah.
Maybe there is a movie coming out now that's called American Hero. The Kurt
The
Warner
second
story.
sequel?
Yeah. It's actually the Hallmark version. Back into the jacket.
Last I've heard of Kurt Warner's, he's been banging the drum for no outdoor playoff games. Every NFL team should play in a dome, and every playoff game should be played in a dome.
Former players.
This girl is very controversial right now. See that this 15-year-old Russian girl that they've allowed back into the competition
Is
after
that because of her relatives' meds? All right. Oh, that's Tara Lipinski, and this is quite the trio of people.
Johnny Weir's always got to get up like that. But
Johnny Weir, a skater?
I would assume so. He's always the skating broadcaster for the Olympics, so I would assume that's his background. A lot of former skaters are really upset that they let this girl back into the competition now.
I can understand.
Sha'Carri Richardson is pissed for sure, and I do not blame her.
I wasn't taking a shot at the Pittsburgh Pirates, just pointing out that even the Pirates have got an improved ratings.
Kind of intrigued by what they would be saying right now.
I don't know, but that definitely looks like a Saturday Night Live skit. Like, if you just looked up, you were like, oh, Saturday Night Live's on.
Yeah, I mean, wearing that to discuss on national television a very serious issue involving corruption, cheating, and forcing a 15-year-old girl to take illegal substances, I wouldn't be wearing the hot pink suit with puka shells and a mohawk.
Eight 803-404-6100. How you can join us next hour. We will get into this Kyler Murray story and give Patrick some time to break that down and
A lot
decide.
of layers to it.
There really is, as we go now into an offseason in which, Patrick, I think you're going to see some quarterback shuffle. Now, I do like, and I'm interested in this, the Aaron Rodgers story that you basically coming out that the Packers now have kind of decided, oh, wait, this Jordan Love guy
stinks.
He might not be good at the whole quarterback
Stinks
playing
on
thing,
us.
and maybe we should just hold on to Aaron Rodgers. But we'll get into Kyler Murray just because it's another quarterback out there. And I think it's also relevant because at some point the Carolina Panthers have got to figure out what they're going to do with the future of the quarterback position for them.
So the question I would pose as we go into the end hour would be, there's a lot of quarterbacks that could be on the market right now. You're looking at Aaron Rodgers, of course, Russell Wilson. If Kyler Murray's in the mix, and then you've got Jimmy Garoppolo and Derek Carr. Derek Carr's like kind of the next tier down, and Jimmy Garoppolo's several tiers down. If the trade was, say, 3 first-round picks, and that's the price, and you can even throw Deshaun Watson in there. If it's 3 first-round picks, Russ, Aaron Rodgers, Kyler, or Deshaun Watson? Or would you rather trade, a second round pick for Jimmy G, or maybe like 2 firsts for Derek Carr? Like who do you want the most? Because this conversation is happening in DC right now. It could feasibly be happening in Denver, could happen in Carolina, any Pittsburgh, any team that needs a quarterback. If it's 3 first round picks and that's the price, do you want Aaron Rodgers coming off back-to-back MVPs, but he's 38, I think 38? Do you want Russell Wilson, who's 33? Do you want Kyler Murray, who isn't as established but is the youngest and may have the most upside? That is the internal debate that I've been having with myself for a while, and I don't really know exactly where I land, but I'm open to basically any argument.
Okay. All right. We will get into that. Yeah, we'll let Patrick kind of diagnose and break down this Kyler Murray story. We'll get back into some South Carolina baseball. John Whittle set to join us at about 7:35 this morning. He will break down the scrimmages that were over the weekend and look ahead to the weekend that will be as UNC Greensboro comes to town. Get a little bit more into South Carolina and Mississippi tonight in basketball over in Oxford, where the Gamecocks are just 2-13 all time against the Rebels, but we'll talk about that. The Gamecocks just a 4.5-point underdog tonight. 7 o'clock. You can hear it right here on 107.5 The Game. So we got a lot to get into, but up next, Kyler Murray. If you haven't seen this situation that's developing out in Arizona, we will let Patrick break it down and where Kyler Murray fits into these young quarterbacks that are starting to take over the NFL. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Well, the 5'9" QB, Jason, is also one of the quickest, most dynamic QBs in the league. Would that not help? So would you rather have Russ? Because Russ is dynamic, but he's also short. Would you rather have Aaron Rodgers? Would you rather just draft one? Because I think all the quarterbacks in this draft kind of stink. I think I would want Kyler the most. Yeah. What are you eating? There's still cookies up there? There's still cookies up there? Getting a cookie. No, I'm not. I don't need it. I don't know what the end of this thought was, Larry. Orb? You'd take Carr because you like him the most, or because you think the price point would be lower and worthwhile? I'm not sure what the Panthers could realistically afford to give up or pay whatever quarterback comes. Although, if Kyler Murray actually got dealt, he would come with 2 more years of team control. Offensive system. Yeah.
Seven a.m. on a Tuesday morning, February the 15th. We hope you are doing good as you get up and start moving around. Start your Tuesday, or if you've already been up and started it, good luck. It's chilly out there. We discussed that a little bit in hour number one, along with some Major League Baseball talk, as does not appear Major League Baseball moving any closer to being able to get a deal in place, at least for the start of the season opener, of opening day. And Patrick, you and I, we talk about it off air sometimes. It's not that we dislike baseball. You're a Nationals fan. You'll follow along. As you've said earlier, you don't go out of your way to watch a whole bunch of the 162 game season, but you might catch a few innings here or there. Some people weighing in this morning, and it's just interesting to see the general feeling of people towards baseball. Kentucky Joe, baseball stinks. Nothing but cheaters. College still using aluminum bats. What is this little league? I mean, again, there's a lot of people kind of getting salty with Major League Baseball. And I don't think that that's everywhere, Patrick. But I think the general feeling is that a lot of people can take or leave Major League Baseball. If you start on
Yeah.
time, if opening day starts on time, that's awesome. We'll check it out. It's a fun little national kind of celebration that day, getting back out to the ballpark. Usually it's warmer weather. And then at the same time, if it doesn't start as planned at the beginning of April, people are like, we'll be fine. We're not missing a whole lot.
Nobody will miss it. I mean, we'll miss opening day, and it'll be kind of a bummer because it kind of also ushers in a new season, and it's fun. But in the middle of the summer, I don't think anyone's going to be missing it, and we'll move on very quickly. That's kind of the main thing is we'll say, "Wow, this sucks. It was supposed to be opening day. I was going to do this. I was going to order a bunch of pizza or whatever, and just sit on my couch and watch baseball all day." And then a week will pass, and we'll say, "All right, well, no baseball.
I think
Guess I'll go outside."
I think locally, especially locally, as long as South Carolina baseball is playing, we'll be in the middle of spring football practice, counting down until the true debut of Spencer Rattler. Will be almost towards the Masters, which is the weekend of April 9th, the RBC Heritage the following weekend. I'm with you locally. I don't know it. Yeah, I know Braves fans out there will be upset and a little bit disappointed. But as we said, it's hard to believe that they won't have Major League Baseball this year. So maybe even starting it in the month of May or mid-May may even actually allow a little bit more attention to go to it. So some Major League Baseball discussion this morning. We also got into Mattress Mac a little bit. If you're not familiar with Mattress Mac, well, he's $9 million less on a Tuesday morning. He bet $9.5 million. Actually, I think he didn't bet 9.5. I think he lost that in sales or revenue when everything was added together. I don't think it was a one-time $9.5 million
Really?
bet. I think it was something different because I know at one point, or maybe he went back in. At one point, it was like a $5.4 million bet that he drove to Louisiana from. He is a Houston-based furniture tycoon, I guess is the best word I can use in this situation. And unfortunately for him, you kind of like to be known as a winner when you're doing this. Mattress Mac has kind of become known as a loser with his bets.
This isn't his first loss.
Oh no. Yeah,
but he's known to be just a massive bettor. I mean, he wins his fair share, doesn't he? Is it just more I think it's just more notable when he loses. But I did see that he's off to a rough start. I thought he was down over $20 million this year.
well, let's see. It says the loss. Well, he's not 20 million this year, but he said the loss on top of, let me go back to this. The loss on top of Alabama in the national title game and future bets on the Patriots and the Titans has resulted in $18 million in betting losses since the calendar turned to 2022.
Jeez.
I'm seeing that he's worth $300 million.
His notable
Okay.
2022 losses include the 9.5 on Cincinnati, 2 million on New England to win the Super Bowl at 20-1 odds, 700,000 on the Titans to win at plus 850, and he lost 6.15 million on Alabama to win the college football playoff at around plus 130.
He did put down 4.5 million on the Bengals, then bet another 5 million.
I see. Yeah, here's the one that I had read initially is that he drove across the border because of the betting laws where you bet with Caesar Sportsbook or whatever. He drove across the border into Louisiana to place his bet on Friday morning of $5 million. He had already gone to Louisiana. He drove to Louisiana twice. So throw in some lost gas is not exactly cheap if anybody's been paying attention of recent. It's risen. So also, I would imagine throw in just some cost for gas to drive back and forth from Houston to Louisiana, and probably some stops at a fast food restaurant or something
Houston
like
to
that.
Louisiana is not that far, and I'm guessing that he is not just a sports gambler. I think he probably spent a little bit of time and enjoyed himself at the casino.
Okay,
Seems like a degenerate. I bet you he played some poker or blackjack or something.
So it sounds like what he needs to do is just put his money under one of his mattresses.
There you go. Very smooth. So we've talked. Mattress.
He did win though last year. He bet 3.5 million on the Bucks last year in the Super Bowl.
Sounds like maybe he needs to consult with Gamecock Larry on his betting choices.
That's true. It is true. Yeah, the guy's in the long run, like we just said. Would you say he's worth $300 million?
Yeah, that's what Google says.
I mean, at the end of the day,
I think he'll do okay.
Don't feel bad for Mattress Mac, but it is interesting. It's out there. That's one NFL story. The other one that is kind of entertaining, Patrick, and maybe more pertinent to what's going on in the NFL as we head toward combine season and then draft season and free agency and all the things, is what has kind of taken place over in Arizona in about the last 72 hours, as it appears Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals and Cliff Kingsbury may be having a little bit of a growing I wouldn't say dislike. How would you describe what is happening here with Kyler Murray right now in the Arizona Cardinals?
At first, when the first thing that happened was he took down all the Cardinal stuff from his Instagram. That was the first sign that something might be up, and I thought that was just kind of an immature response to not getting the payday he wanted. And I do think ultimately this was mostly a money thing, because he's now eligible for an extension. As a first round pick, he can be under team control for 5 years, 4 years, and then pick up the 5th-year option. But after 3 years, you're extension eligible. So he's extension eligible. He wants his extension. Cliff Kingsbury wants an extension too. And the Cardinals aren't really willing to do either of those. So the first thing that happened was Kyler Murray took down all the Cardinals stuff from his Instagram, and then there was the report that he feels like he was made to be the scapegoat of the Rams playoff game loss, which he was atrocious. I mean, he threw for like 130 yards, the worst pick six I've probably ever seen, had a 7 or 8 QB rating. Like, he was really, really, really bad. It was probably the worst game he's ever played in his life. So that happened, and then it was weird, the reaction that all these reports kept coming out from Arizona saying that he's immature, he's not a leader, he keeps to himself. There were people saying that he puts headphones in during halftime and just sits by himself and doesn't listen to whatever adjustments are being made, and very is like isolates himself whenever things are going badly, is not a first guy in, last guy out type of guy, and just really ripping his character. So I don't know what this is. If this was a money thing, the right thing for the Cardinals to do would be say, "Hey, we want to make this right. We want Kyler to be here forever. He's a great quarterback. He's going to be our franchise quarterback for a long time. That's why we took him number one." But that's kind of the opposite of what's going on. And I don't think they're sold on Cliff Kingsbury. I would be really surprised if they were not sold on Kyler Murray at this point. But if the off the field stuff or just his mentality in the locker room, and apparently some of the veterans came out and said that they were going to work with Kyler on how to better handle adversity or how to act when adversity strikes. So I think he's just like a relatively young, probably immature kid who's never. I mean, you're talking about what people call the greatest quarterback in high school history, who came in and then won a Heisman Trophy in his only year starting in college. Really hasn't had too much adversity, but things weren't going well this year, and he kind of just went into a shell. So it's a weird situation, and if it led to him being traded, that would be crazy. Like, I don't know that we've really seen that before. We've seen guys get unhappy after long tenures with the organization, but to be this unhappy after 3 years where both sides are leaking stories about each other, and then Kyler posted a tweet yesterday with just a little notes app message saying, basically, "This isn't me. Everyone that's ever played with me knows this isn't true. So I'm just going to keep grinding." Maybe this gets washed over, but there's shots being taken from both sides that I would think would make it hard to move forward.
So where then what the question that becomes, and you posed this as we exited the previous hour, and a couple people weighing in on the Buford Lending live stream. Not a lot of them thrilled with some of the options you provided. I think the one was who I was trying. I don't want the Panthers picking up a 5'9" quarterback with no offensive line. That's Jason weighing in on Kyler Murray. But yet, where do you put Kyler Murray? Because number one, the Cardinals, it felt like they were ready. It feels like they might be ready to move on from Cliff Kingsbury to begin with, but they're going to ride things out with him at least for one more year. Kyler Murray is another guy that, again, they invested a lot. Remember, they took Josh Rosen in the top 10 the year before, and then Kyler Murray at number 1 the year after. That's a lot to invest in two quarterbacks and getting 0 playoff wins, basically. And you always do wonder if Kyler Murray gets too upset.
Just go play baseball.
And he's kind of a spoiled brat. I don't know if the A's still technically own his contract. Like, if he went back to baseball, I don't know how that would work.
I thought that was the case. I thought that's what I heard.
Okay.
But he did pay back a bunch of money to them.
Yeah, I don't know, like, if it voided the contract and he could technically go negotiate a deal. But where do you put Kyler Murray in young quarterbacks that would be out there right now?
That's what's interesting, because we just kind of moved the narrative forward so quickly. If we said when the Cardinals were the last unbeaten team in the NFL, I think they got to 8-0. They might have been 9-0, but Kyler looked like he was going to be the MVP of the league. Then the Cardinals sputtered. He couldn't really do anything. Cliff Kingsbury couldn't manage an offense without DeAndre Hopkins. They ended the season going 1-5. But if you said midway through the season, who are the great young quarterbacks in the NFL, it was Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, maybe. But Kyler Murray was right there. And then at the end of the season, after we watched that crazy game with the Bills and the Chiefs, and then Joe Burrow goes to the Super Bowl, we're saying, hey, it's Allen, Mahomes, and Burrow. And then, some people like Herbert, Lamar was obviously an MVP, but has gotten banged up and not played as well since that MVP season. But Kyler's name hasn't really come into the mix of that young group, but I do think he's as good as I would rather have him than Lamar Jackson. I don't know if I'd rather have him than Justin Herbert. Yeah, Justin Herbert still hasn't won anything, but he's also 2 years in, so there's probably a lot of room for him to grow still. But I think Kyler is elite. If I was Washington and the news broke that we traded 3 first-round picks for Kyler Murray, I would be over the moon. I would be so happy.
Yeah, he ended up this year 24 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and he threw for just under 3,800 yards, 3,787 in this particular year. For his career, he has, to Patrick's point, he has been solid. Career numbers 70 touchdowns and 34 interceptions. So he's done a good job of keeping a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio there. He's thrown for 11,480 yards. But it is interesting when you talk about specifically local, the Carolina Panthers, what this offseason will mean in terms of finding a franchise quarterback to move forward that franchise. It's not going to be Sam Darnold. I don't know what they're going to do. And quite frankly, Patrick, I don't care if they've got Joe Brady, if they've got who did they just hire as the offensive coordinator? What am I blanking?
Who?
The Panthers. The Giants.
Nerdy guy from the Giants. Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Yeah, they hired. Why am I blanking on the Giants? The Giants coach that they just brought in that's not very good. That we're not fans. Ben McAdoo. Thank you. And to me, the quarterback situation will define Matt Rule. Matt Rule can survive in Carolina with a solid quarterback, and I don't know who that is. But how does David Tepper go and find a guy, or who does David Tepper prefer to throw his money at this year? And if you had to list them right now, Patrick, Aaron Rodgers is not an option. Let's be clear about that. Aaron Rodgers is not going to come to the Carolina Panthers, or at least that would be the craziest scenario I could envision in the NFL this offseason. If you've got Russell Wilson, if you've got Kyler Murray out there, you mentioned Jimmy G is, I guess, an option out there as the 49ers will look to get rid of him. You rank those three, who is most likely to be wearing a Carolina Panther uniform next year?
I most likely to wear Carolina Panther uniform, I think, is going to be one of the rookies.
Okay.
I think that's their only real choice. I mean, they have so much money committed to quarterbacks that can't play. I mean, it's $18 million, I think, committed to Sam Darnold, and they can't cut him. So I think their only choice, they're in a bad spot. I just don't know what they could do. Maybe you bundle players and get some of that money off your books, but they just traded for Stephon Gilmore. They're going to have to pay him. Their other corner, Dante Jackson, is a free agent. They only have, I think, $15 to $20 million to work with. That's not getting you one of the elite quarterbacks. You're not going to – I mean, you could trade for Kyler Murray and just extend him and not have to pay him for 2 more years and then work out the salary cap later. But the offensive line is also really bad. You have to spend money there. And I'm looking right now at a stat from PFF that the least efficient passing offenses since 2013, the third least efficient passing offense of the last 9 years is the Carolina Panthers from last year. Like, they were broken offensively, and I just don't know what the answer is. Like, they can't – no one would take Sam Darnold. It would almost require them to trade Sam Darnold to get anyone in return, and you'd have to be insane to accept Sam Darnold on your team unless somehow the Seahawks said, hey, Russ wants to go to Carolina. We'll take Sam Darnold because our team is a joke right now. So give us 4 first-round picks and send us Sam Darnold. We'll get that money off your books for you, and we'll just play for the number 1 pick and get Bryce Young next year. I mean, that's what it would have to be. It would be an NBA-type trade where you're dumping salary. But that has rarely happened in the NFL, and the Panthers, I don't think, are going to be lucky enough to find someone to take Sam Darnold.
803-404-6100. That's how you can weigh in this morning on the text line. Justin just says the Panthers are a dumpster fire, and I am sad.
Yep.
A lot of people weighing in on that. We'll continue talking about some of the Panthers. We'll get into a little bit of basketball here in the next segment. South Carolina and Mississippi from Oxford tonight, and then coming up at 7:35. So in about 20 minutes, we'll catch up with John Whittle to give us a baseball breakdown as the Gamecocks get ready for opening weekend. And I believe it was, yes, another Twitter, an anonymous texter who, even though we were talking about Major League Opening Day, and I understand where this person was going, said, sorry, guys, opening day is Friday. Again, to the point, I don't know how many people would be that upset if Major League Baseball doesn't get around to opening day. 803-404-6100, or you can join us, Buford Lending live stream. Go to youtube.com, search 1075 The Game, click subscribe, weigh in on our live stream. We always appreciate it. You're listening to the early game on 1075 The Game.
So, yeah, they can't. They definitely, the 49ers, big contracts are big contracts. The Jimmy G thing, they would definitely not take Jimmy G for Trey Lance. The 49ers are in a situation they have to trade Jimmy G no matter what, because they're $4.5 million over the cap right now. If they trade Jimmy G, they will have $26 million of cap space. So, considering they already went all in on Trey Lance, they just have to start him next year. That's pretty much the position they're in. They really can't run it back with Jimmy G because they're not going to be able to improve their team if they do. If they trade Jimmy G and go all in on Trey Lance, they can make the roster around him better. Basically, you can trade Jimmy G and pay Hbo as part of it. Yeah, I would not put Mac Jones in that group, but some people would. I'm more confident that Trevor Lawrence will be elite than Mac Jones. It's not that high. I just think Mac Jones will be solid. And since he plays for the Patriots, he'll always be on good teams. But I don't think he's going to get much better than he was as from his rookie year, whereas I think Trevor Lawrence will get a lot better. Has anybody seen the show Peacemaker on HBO Max? I started yesterday. Watched 5 episodes. It's awesome. 45 minutes. You haven't seen the Suicide Squad movie, have you? The new one with John Cena. John Cena in it. It's a continuation of the Suicide Squad movie based around John Cena's character.
Which one was it? So I saw the first one.
The first one had Will Smith in it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Will Smith in it,
And it stunk, so they remade it.
And at the very end of it, Joker broke in and broke Harley Quinn out. I think
Yeah.
the very end.
Yeah, they kind of blew that one up and remade it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just like, all right, that would never happen.
Yeah.
Got it.
It sucks. You suck, Larry. See? Great show. But I can't. What do you mean, Anthony? I can't see the main character on the show. You talking about John Cena? There's a lot of good one-liners in it. And it is certainly raunchy. Very, very raunchy.
Which one? The show?
Yeah, it is.
Is it a Marvel show? Is that what it is?
No, it's DC.
Oh, DC.
But it is very, very rated R. You could not watch that with your kids in the room.
Okay.
Oh, Anthony, jeez. Missed that one. Right over my head. John Cena is very funny in it, though. I would have never called myself a John Cena fan, but I do like it.
I feel like whatever's happening right now on the live stream is a very big inside joke with Patrick on either Peacemaker or the movie you are talking about.
Was this another joke? What? Starfish was in the movie. That's what. And the shark guy. The show's better than the movie, though.
We're doing an old-timey play of the day that was just a month and a half ago.
What was it?
The carry-on joiner to Jakeem Bell.
Depends who you ask.
Huh?
Depends who you ask. Some people weren't even born yet when that happened.
$7:24 on a Tuesday morning, February the 15th. Hope you're doing well this morning as we get you ready. South Carolina traveling to Oxford, Mississippi tonight. I've seen two different stat lines here on the Gamecocks record in Oxford. I saw one earlier that said 13-2 is what the Rebels have posted against South Carolina in Oxford. I now see one on South Carolina's preview that says 15-2. Either way, Patrick, this is not a place where South Carolina has had a lot of success.
Even when Ole Miss has been bad.
Even when Ole Miss has been bad. This is,
which they are.
I was going to say, this is not a very good Mississippi team that South Carolina is going against tonight. They are 12-13 overall on the season. They are just 3-9 in conference. I guess give them credit, though. The 3 wins aren't that bad. They've beaten Mississippi State, Florida, and LSU on the season. The LSU one was definitely the shocker of the group.
In Baton Rouge, too.
Yeah. So tonight, though, South Carolina, it'll be a 7 o'clock game. You can catch it on the ESPNU. Also, you can hear it right here on 107.5 The Game. Mississippi enters the game on a 3-game losing streak, having lost on the road at Florida in overtime. They lost by 14 a week ago to Alabama, and over the weekend, they lost to Missouri. Again, I don't think we, Patrick, are trying to convince anybody that a win tonight changes the Gamecocks' course of the season and that things begin really looking up. I know Frank Martin saying yesterday in his weekly press conference that they like where they stand at this point in time. The road home is extremely difficult when you look ahead. Obviously, last week Tennessee and then Kentucky. You did come back with the Georgia game on Saturday and you picked that one up. Tonight, though, you go to a place where, again, success has been extremely limited, but maybe, just maybe, Keyshawn Bryant has turned a corner. He's been able to piece together a few good games, and you get 21 on Saturday from Devin Carter. I don't know what you're going to get from the rest of them. It's hit or miss. Maybe they come out and Jermaine Couisnard's taking care of the ball and is facilitating and seems engaged. Maybe Wildens Levesque is setting screens and rebounding and scoring points, and maybe they're not, and South Carolina's down double digits at the half.
Well, I don't know really the first thing about Ole Miss, but there's nothing that could surprise me about tonight. I mean, if it's just a cursed building and South Carolina can't ever beat them there, even when they're really bad, and this has got to be the worst Ole Miss has been in a couple years. I mean, they're just really, really bad. You just look at some of the scores, and they've somehow beat LSU, but they've gotten blown out in some of these games too. And this game, I guess, is important just because if you win tonight, you guarantee that you will not go below 500. That's pretty much all you're playing for at this point. Like, if you win tonight, you get to 15 wins with 5 to go at the very least. If you lose out with this pretty tough schedule to end the season, then you're a 500 team at worst, and it's at least not embarrassing. I feel like you're just playing at this point to avoid embarrassment. I don't know what else it is.
The other thing that'll be kind of interesting, Kermit Davis is a guy that was widely regarded in coaching circles several years ago for the job he had done at Middle Tennessee. And you talk about hiring different guys, different things that could come up. Kermit Davis again had been at Middle Tennessee for several years. There back when they were part of the Sun Belt, and then switching over to Conference USA. And in his final 4 seasons there, he hit a CIT tournament, but then back-to-back NCAA tournaments, followed by a 25-8 season, 16-2 in Conference USA, went to the NIT. He gets to Mississippi and takes over for Andy Kennedy, who left a pretty good foundation. Andy Kennedy is a coach that I have always had a lot of respect for and think is pretty good, obviously now at UAB. But you look at Mississippi, they had that good first year. They got to the NCAA tournament, Patrick. And then after that, it's been 15-17, 16-12. And again, as they sit here today, they are 12-13, 3-9 in the conference. Kermit Davis is another guy that I don't know if Mississippi would make a move on at the end of the season after 4 years. But the results there, when you talk about hiring a guy from a mid-major conference, have not been what Mississippi was hoping for. And we talk about this game being important for South Carolina. You look down the stretch, Mississippi, who again is just trying to kind of survive and have their own winning season, still has games against Auburn, Texas A&M, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt to go along with a game against Georgia.
What is Mississippi's basketball history like? I mean, have they had success? I'm looking right now on their Wikipedia page. They've made one Sweet 16 in 2001. Who's like the greatest player in Ole Miss basketball history? I can't think of anyone.
In Mississippi basketball history.
And have they ever had like a good NBA player?
I'm sure they have, and if you had not asked me, I would.
How does that job compare to South Carolina's job? I mean, it seems like a very difficult place to build a winning program.
Yeah, I mean, as I look at it, Mississippi does not have a lot of NCAA tournament appearances. I think actually what you're bringing up is very fair. Mississippi has just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 NCAA tournament appearances in the last 40 years, essentially. South Carolina's got 5 in the last 40 years. Most of those coming in most of them coming this century with 5 appearances since 2001. It's definitely not a easy job for them. It'll be interesting to see what Kermit Davis can do. But again, they may very well elect to move on, and that open up another job that could be out there this coming offseason you'd have to compete against. But you make a good point when you talk about the basketball history of Mississippi. It's not really there. 2 conference tournament championships in 1981 and 2013. They've been out of the first round just 3 times in their history, 1999, 2001, and 2013, and they've had 1 Sweet 16 appearance. So I think the question you posed regarding Mississippi and the basketball, the history, very, very similar to that of South Carolina.
Yeah, and I guess we'll do it in a later segment, but I guess what I was getting is if they move on from Kermit Davis, and South Carolina moves on, who's getting the better coach?
It's a good question.
If they both were going after the same guy, who's he picking?
It's a good question. I'm not sure what direction that they would
seem
go.
Like an obvious answer.
The player did not make it in the NBA, but my buddy David hits us up and he says the last player he remembers for him was Marshall Henderson.
Yeah,
Remember?
I mean, he didn't sniff the NBA, did he?
No, he ended up overseas.
Obnoxious.
He ended up overseas. And
like Devontae Shuler is better than Marshall Henderson. Right?
As a player, I think, overall. I don't know. Henderson was pretty fun to watch.
He was fun to watch.
He was annoying since he wasn't on your team, but he was something else. That was for sure. And I think that coincided with their last SEC tournament championship in 2013 is when Marshall Henderson was a part of it. South Carolina, Mississippi tonight. We'll talk more about it in the final hour there against 7 o'clock ESPNU. You can hear it right here on 107.5 The Game. Up next, John Whittle of thebigspur.com joins us. We'll talk some Gamecock baseball as they get ready for UNC Greensboro this weekend. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Oh, saving money when you make that mortgage payment, that is always a lot of fun. You feel better about yourself. And maybe you hop on Amazon, you start looking around to see what you can purchase with the money you saved. Maybe you buy yourself something nice and shiny, maybe something you need for the house. Whatever it is, when you save money on your mortgage payment, you just feel better about yourself. And while rates, they have gone up a little bit, They are a little bit up right now as opposed to maybe a few months ago. It's still a great time if you're a first-time home buyer or if you're looking to refinance to give Benji Getsy and Buford Lending a call. 843-524-2404. Get a free evaluation. Let Benji and his team tell you what they can do for you and your family today by calling 843-524-2404, or you can visit them on the web, Buford.mortgage. Benji has 25 years of experience in the mortgage industry. Let him help shop and lock in your rate today. You will not regret it. Why should you do it, you ask? Because he's been named one of the top 1% of producing loan officers in the state of South Carolina and the entire United Wholesale Mortgage Network. So if you're purchasing, now is the time to call Benji Getsy, 843-524-2404. He will get you a lower rate, which will give you more buying power. Again, those rates, they've gone up just a tad, but they're still excellent and well below pre-pandemic levels. Find out for yourself with a free evaluation today when you call Buford Lending, 843-524-2404.
And things still moving along fairly well out on the highways this morning. That's good news. I-77 northbound, just after Jackson Boulevard, there may be a little bit of a slowdown there due to an earlier accident. But other than that, things going along fairly well. And forecast, much of the same as far as things going along pretty well. We're liking that.
Just Josh and Larry. You don't suck.
Just Josh.
Mm. Richard Sherman put out some strong thoughts on Matthew Stafford being a Hall of Famer yesterday. Put out, I'm seeing 4 tweets. Said the Hall of Fame bar is incredibly low now, like a participation trophy. No all-decade team, no all-pro, no MVP, 1 Pro Bowl, not even MVP of the Super Bowl, never considered the best in any year he played. At least Matt Ryan has an MVP. He did nothing spectacular. It's really a microcosm of his career. Did good, not great. Made a few wow passes, a few facepalm passes. Aaron Donald and Von Miller are the 2 Hall of Famers that he should thank. He said no measuring stick makes him a Hall of Famer other than playing in the most pass-happy decade in NFL history. Inflated numbers make every QB that starts 10-plus years a Hall of Famer.
Come back to that in hour number 3.
I don't disagree with really anything he said. But I think Matthew Stafford's going to go to the Hall of Fame. And that's what he said. He's ended it with so many other people had to be the most dominant to make the Hall of Fame. And Matt Stafford has never been dominant. Morning, Artia.
Is that supposed to be point well made or were made? Points were made.
Points were made.
$7:39 on a Tuesday morning, February 15th. Bill Gunner, Patrick Perrett, Jen Jensen. What we have been talking about, well, we've been kind of been all over the map once again. This is what happens when football comes to a close. We've talked a little bit about Major League Baseball and the work stoppage that they may be experiencing that'll end opening day. We've talked a little bit about South Carolina basketball tonight against Mississippi. And we've talked about what some of you define as the true opening day. Many of you weighing in that you're not real concerned if opening day in Major League Baseball doesn't happen. Your opening day occurs Friday over at Founders Park as South Carolina will host UNC Greensboro 4 o'clock. And to give us the final thoughts before the season starts here, it is John Whittle of thebigspur.com. Thank you for hopping up bright and early with us this morning. I know you're an avid listener between 6:15 and 6:45 to hear Gamecock Larry's hot takes on whatever may be transpiring, but now he'll have to listen to you, Whittle. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. I set my alarm every day for Gamecock Larry, and he's a pleasure to listen to, a treat every day. Gets my day started out right.
Yeah, nothing like some liver pudding and predictions to start off a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday morning. Let's talk about this baseball team. It's finally here. It's finally here, and let's just get you going with a new guy that I'm interested to see. That I think in your most recent article on thebigspur.com, as you kind of project opening day, Michael Braswell, potential starting shortstop. Obviously, a freshman. So this is a new guy that South Carolina fans are unfamiliar with, but appears he has been able to come in pretty instantly and earn a starting position.
Yeah, not only starting shortstop, late game reliever probably is as well. You know, Braswell was a pretty highly sought after recruit, and he's come in and transitioned really nicely. He's a very steady overall player. You know, he may not be a guy who's gonna make a bunch of highlight reel plays. But he's a very steady overall player, and he's been a lot better offensively in a shorter time than I kind of thought he would be. I thought it may take him a little bit of time to adjust, but he's been really good at the plate. You know, this preseason, I think it's been about 10 scrimmages in total. He's hitting a little over 500 and more walks and strikeouts, which is great to see from a freshman. But he's certainly earned that starting shortstop position and kind of walked away from that competition there with a couple of other guys. So, but you know, throw in that he could be a late game reliever out of the bullpen. He's been up to 93, I think it is on the mound, 93 that I've noticed in watching the scrimmages. He'll go out there for an inning at a time from time to time, and hopefully give the Gamecocks some bullpen innings that they need quite a bit.
How does that work in practice? Like, is that sustainable long term to play in the field and hit, and then also spend enough time pitching to get innings? Like, do you expect him to get legitimate innings this year?
Yeah, I do. I do, and you know, part of that is the state of South Carolina's bullpen right now, but part of it's also the fact that he's really, really good at it. You know, it's rare that you see a guy, especially a freshman, come in and do that. And you know, the more they can keep off of him from a pitching standpoint, the better. Just because it's hard to come in and be a freshman shortstop in the SEC. It's hard to come in and be a closer type guy as a freshman in the SEC. It's really difficult to do both. So the more they can keep off of him, the better. But he's proven to be one of the best guys, coming out of the bullpen right now. So they're going to have to use him a little bit, at least until some other guys step up and show that they can do it.
John Whittle joining us from thebigspur.com. Make sure you go and check out his article there. Projecting the opening day lineup for the Gamecocks as they get going this coming Friday at 4 o'clock. You can also follow him if you're not already, and you probably are, but John M. Whittle is the way to do that. Whittle, you're familiar with the transfer portal in football. You've heard of that. In baseball, it's going to be kind of interesting. It looks like you have projections on 3 transfers making their debut for South Carolina this weekend and being in the starting lineup.
Yeah, the transfer portal was pretty good for South Carolina this past offseason. 2 who are definitely going to be in there somewhere are Kevin Madden and Brent Belk. Madden is from Virginia Tech, was a starter up there this past season. Hit a little above 300 for the Hokies, and he's a really good defender as well. He's not a guy who has led very many of my scrimmage reports. He's another guy who may not have a ton of wow moments for you, but he's really steady as well and very good defensively. He's hit a couple of home runs over the course of the fall and preseason scrimmages. He's got one of the best arms from third base that you'll see. But he's been really good overall. He's been hitting right around 300 for the preseason against South Carolina's pitching. I expect him to be a little bit better, offensively this coming season than he may have been the last 3 weeks. But Brent Belk is a Missouri transfer. He's in his 6th year, spent 3 years at Pepperdine, a couple years at Missouri, and now here at South Carolina for his final season. He's obviously got a lot of experience, kind of the old head of the team. Can play some first base when Josiah Seitler's pitching, going to play a lot in left field too. Both of those are very comfortable positions for him. He's done that throughout the course of his career, but I expect him to be the leadoff guy, left-handed hitter, and just finds a lot of barrel. So I expect him to be very influential on this team. And Matt Hogan, a Vanderbilt transfer, I think is who's going to start in center, but there's going to be some rotation with him and 2 other guys, 2 true freshmen, at the start of the season as they kind of figure out, who settles in, who plays best. But, if nobody kind of steps up and takes that job, they may play some matchups a little bit. And Matt Hogan's a little bit better against right-handed pitching than he is against left-handed pitching. Elijah Lamborough's a freshman from Virginia. He can see some time out there. He's right-handed hitter who's a little bit better against left-handed pitching. So they can play some matchups, and then a local guy, Evan Stone, is the best guy defensively out there. And long story short, they're going to need some guys out there who play some defense, because South Carolina's this pitching staff this year, they're not going to strike out a lot of guys. They could have gotten away with a defense that wasn't that great these last couple of years because they struck out so many guys. Not a lot of balls in play, but this staff is more of a pitch to contact kind of pitching staff, and they're going to need some guys out there who can run down some fly balls and some gaps and make plays on defense on the infield. So Evan Stone is the best outfielder on the team from a defensive standpoint. Really, really good reads, really good speed out there. Just has a knack for making plays. So I expect to see him in some games as well.
You've seen multiple scrimmages. You're very familiar with this team. Biggest question mark or biggest 2 questions you are interested to get answered this weekend against UNC Greensboro?
Well, I don't think we'll get all the answers this weekend, but just kind of how the bullpen shakes out. There's probably not going to be a whole lot of defined roles, especially early on in the season. But common questions. Well, who's going to be the closer? Well, there's not one right now. I mean, there just isn't. There's not that one guy who you're going to turn to. There's about 3-4 guys in the bullpen who they feel pretty good about right now. But it's probably going to be a little bit more of a matchup thing with who they go to in some late game situations. So you don't have a Matt Price back there. You don't have name your great South Carolina closer. You don't have your Chad Blackwell back there. You've got a few guys who you feel like can get outs, but nobody's really kind of stepped up and said, I'm going to be the guy there at the end. So they're going to have to do some different things with the bullpen at the end of the game. Noah Hall is Appalachian State transfer who they feel real good about. Kate Austin, a Chapin kid who redshirted last year, has pitched really, really well over the course of preseason and back into the fall too. So he's going to be right there late in games. The guy who they kind of recruited to be the closer, a lefty from junior college, Michael Esposito. He's been a little bit better here lately, but he got off to a little bit of a slow start, mainly from a command control standpoint. So, and if all kind of goes as planned, Esposito may end up being that guy a little bit later in the season, but right now it's going to be a little bit by committee, especially late in games. So, that's not something that's going to shake out just this weekend, but that's the thing I'm probably paying closest attention to over the course of non-conference play.
And real quick, your expected starting lineup, the pitching rotation for the weekend in terms of starters.
For this weekend at least, I think it's going to be Will Sanders on Friday and James Hicks on Saturday, and they're probably going to go with a TBD on Sunday, and I think it'll ultimately end up being Josiah Seitler if they don't end up using him. Julian Bosnick is going to be out for a little bit. He's been he just hasn't been real effective in these scrimmages, and they've done some scans, some tests on his arm to be sure he's okay and everything is structurally sound, but they're going to give him a little bit of time off and do some treatment and get him back throwing again in a couple of weeks, and it's going to take a little bit of time for him to get back up, get his arm back up into shape. So he'll obviously be a weekend rotation kind of guy back when he's feeling good, but it's not going to be this weekend. So Will Sanders has been great. James Hicks has been really good. Both of those guys will be on the weekend, and I think it'll ultimately end up being Josiah Seitler on Sunday.
He is John Whittle. We appreciate you. We will definitely continue to use you because anybody that wants to get up and join us, we never turn them down. We appreciate you taking time out to join us this morning. Hope you enjoy the rest of your week, and we'll catch up with you next week to get some thoughts on what you saw and what South Carolina's doing going into week number 2.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys for having me.
Always glad to do it. John Whittle with thebigspur.com. Anything you miss, make sure you go to thebigspur.com and check out his work there. Follow him on Twitter at John M. Whittle. We'll wrap up this hour of the program. It's the early game, 107.5 The Game. It is that time of the year where golf, you start to think about getting on the golf course. But if you've been having issues with your back, with your spine, with your shoulders, you need to get them fixed. Nobody wants to go out to the golf course and be sore. That's why KC Chiropractic is ready to get you to living the life you want to live. Maybe it's not just golf. Maybe it's jumping in the pool with the kids, swimming in the lake, maybe doing some outdoor activities. And Dr. Pate and Dr. Roman Cooper, they have combined 40 years of experience in the chiropractic industry and are ready to take the non-surgical approach to fixing any issues you have. So before you try surgery, call Dr. Pate and Dr. Roman Cooper, 803-796-2424. Again, that's 803-796-2424. Dr. Pate, Dr. Roman Cooper, they are in the business of getting people out of pain. And if you're looking to get back to living the lifestyle you have enjoyed living, but you've been suffering through back pain, shoulder pain, hip pain, now's the time to call KC Chiropractic Center. 803-796-2424. Again, 803-796-2424. That's KC Chiropractic Center. Big thank you to John Whittle for joining us there. Anything you missed, you can always go to our 1075 The Game podcast page. Save me.
Yeah, I'm about to tell the boat story here at the end of our break, so join the live stream. We're going to be back in 5 minutes. Get more into the Kyler Murray stuff here in hour 3.
I'll drink some water and be able to speak. You're
Stick
listening to
with
the
us.
early game on 1075 The Game.
All right. You would have been entertained by what we endured on Saturday. So yeah, my parents are building a house, so they're in a rental right now. So the boat is parked in their new development, just in a little. They have a gated area that people can just park their trailers. So we went out on Christmas, and my dad wants to kind of start it around once a month just to make sure that it can keep running. So I went down, and we were going to take a boat ride on Saturday, and then my sister drove from Simpsonville like an hour down to join the boat ride, and we went and set the boat up, uncovered and everything, and I tried to just start it just to make sure the battery was running, and it didn't start. So we just sat around waiting for my sister to get there, drank beers on the boat, and once she got there, we hooked up to her car and jump started it, but it wasn't enough juice that we could start it on its own. So we pulled this maneuver where we backed the boat to the very edge of the water, pulled my sister's car up all the way right next to the boat, plugged it up with the jump starter, hooked it up with the jump starter, and my dad said that basically you can run it out of the water for about 30 seconds. And anything other than that, you risk burning out the motor. So my dad was on the boat, my mom was in the car, my sister's fiance was in his car, and I was standing between the two. So he charged it with the jump starter, started the engine, immediately unhooked it, handed the jumper cables to me, and told my mom to kick it. And she slid back and dropped the boat in the water. So we made it, and it was very intense, but it worked perfectly. But so my dad was floating around, just keeping the engine running, while my mom went and dropped the trailer. And when my dad started there, it's a twin engine, so he started the second engine, and it killed the first engine. So it tried to pull from the first engine and just killed the first engine. So he was probably maybe 50 feet out, or no, he was fairly close enough that he tried to throw the line to me, but it was just not. We couldn't make the throw. So then he started floating out, and then I guess dropped anchor and sat and just thought about what to do. And there's a little guy on a fishing boat, maybe 100 yards away. So we just waited to get his attention, and he drove over, pulled my dad up to me on the dock. My mom had to bring the car back around, and between 3 of us with 3 lines, my dad had to get in the middle of the trailer, like, with his feet probably knee high in the water. It was 43 degrees standing on the trailer while my sister's fiance was on one side with a line, I was on the other side with a line, and we were trying to just straighten it out and walk it up, and it probably took 45 minutes to get the thing straightened out. It was not easy to get that thing back on the trailer from the water.
Can't imagine.
It was quite the day.
So portable charger will be traveling with you.
What'd you say?
I said a portable charger will be staying at least in the truck.
Yeah. Well, that was the next morning after church. The first stop was Walmart to get a portable charger. So, yeah.
Man, but what a chilly day.
The day.
Whew.
Wow.
It was pretty. We were all so happy when we pulled off the maneuver of jump starting it and then kicking it back into the water as quickly as
Right.
possible, and then it worked like a charm. We were so excited, but it was too good to be true.
Mm-hmm. It's a great idea, though.
It felt very, very risky and a little bit dangerous. mention Gamecock player's name, and there he is.
Oh, of course. It was a wild morning, and it feels like it was about 2 years ago, but in actuality, it was 46 days ago. When actually it wasn't that. What is it? The 3rd is when we came back. So about 43 days ago. Still hard to believe it's February 15th. I think Patrick summed it up really well. I think it was yesterday when he said, it feels like since about 2020, we're just speeding through life at a wild rate of speed. Speaking of a wild rate of speed, doing your research there, 3rd place. Are you 2nd place or 3rd place last year? Did I throw my sheet away? I think I did. My NASCAR sheet coming up Thursday. Your 2nd place doesn't really matter after 1st place, to be quite honest, Jen. I don't really care. I was the winner last year in our NASCAR picks contest, and coming up on Thursday, Kerry Tharp will join us again, as he does each and every year, and we get ready Daytona this weekend. You got an early favorite? Mhm. The next generation car. If you'd have won last year, maybe we'd call it the gen car, but it's the next generation car. Sh Should be good. Scott weighs in. He's going with, Blaney. I don't know if he's going with Blaney for this weekend or for the year, but, yeah, we'll get into that, as we get closer. Should be an interesting weekend, certainly, Patrick, as we move forward. No football this weekend, and I don't think either of us are very fired up for the USFL opening in April, but South Carolina baseball will get going this weekend. You'll have some Daytona this weekend. You got the Genesis Open on the PGA Tour as we get a little bit closer to the Masters and the RBC Heritage and the East Coast swing of the PGA Tour. Some college football news as well yesterday. Luke Fickle signing an extension to stay at Cincinnati. But Patrick, I don't, these extensions these days, the money, the buyouts, the way college football is changing and evolving. Luke Fickle agreeing to a new $5 million per year deal through 2028. And I tell you what, that speaks volumes to where Cincinnati has at, but also $5 million, honestly, in the college football landscape for a guy with right now that record, that pedigree,
Well,
it's not that much money, right? Like, I mean, after what just happened at Michigan with Jim Harbaugh, and it felt like trying to go to Minnesota, it feels like Luke Fickle is just biding his time until the University of Michigan comes calling and he heads up there to be head Wolverine.
I was actually, yeah. I mean, because Brian Kelly's making 9.5. I'm seeing that. Do you know what Marcus Freeman's making?
I'm gonna
I
ballpark
think it looks like
6 to 7. I'd go 6.5 if you asked.
it looks like $9 million a year.
Yeah, I think Notre Dame. I don't quote me on this, but I feel like Notre Dame is one of those private institutions that does not have to release what exactly their football coach
Makes.
is making. But that would actually be insane if that was true. I guess we're both researching that as quickly as we
I
possibly
saw
can.
I saw 5 and 9 million, so I'm not really sure, but he's the Dick Corbett head coach because they
It
do have their head coaching position
it
sponsored, which is a weird thing.
it does say that he accepted a deal back in December, 10 years, $95 million. So that's what I'm seeing right here now. Again, we'll see. It says Freeman will take over the program. Oh, excuse me, that was Brian Kelly that
Yeah,
accepted 10 years, $95 million. So I think it's more in the ballpark of 5
5.
million for Brian
'Cause I was gonna
Kelly.
say if Luke Fickle had that coaching search happened at a different time, it maybe I Luke Fickle has always been connected to that job, and that was the early buzz is because people don't think he wanted Michigan. He just as he's too much of an Ohio guy to take Michigan, and Notre Dame would have kind of fit his brand. But if that was what he was going to make at Notre Dame, then I guess 5 million is a good deal. And Cincinnati, this is obviously them getting ready for the Big 12 money, right? I mean, it's going to be a bigger paycheck than the American, so they're going to have the funds. And I don't know if this is. I mean, they're obviously trying to establish themselves as not just the best of the little guys. They want to be one of the major players. And if he's committed to sticking around, I mean, I don't know if the sky is the limit, but I think you could make them into a pretty perennially good team.
Yeah, I don't know in the new era of college football what the Big 12 is going to be and where it's going to sit as we continue to have back and forth on.
Well, I think they're Cincinnati, we would think just is waiting until they're good enough to be coveted by the Big Ten, right?
But it's hard for me to envision that happening now. Like
What if they win the
they
Big 12 for 3 consecutive years and are playing college football playoffs?
you got to hope. Well, one, I'm going to assume that somebody at the Big 12 had enough common sense and foresight to put in a pretty extensive uh, agreement where if they leave, they owe basically most of the state of Ohio.
Well,
I think the Big 12 gets to annex part of Ohio as part of their the Big 12 country. I don't know. To answer your question though, college football is going to evolve on us, and it's going to happen. I think rapidly as we go through the summer. It's hard to believe that we're going to stay with this 4-team college football playoff because let's be honest, you when you do bring Oklahoma and Texas over to the SEC, generally speaking there's going to be 2 SEC teams, at least 2 every year that are worthy of being in the college football playoff. That's just going to end up being the way it is. And then you're going to have, if you stay with 4, then you're going to have Oklahoma, or excuse me, not Oklahoma, but Ohio State, Clemson, maybe Southern Cal, all fighting for those other 2 remaining spots. And then throw Notre Dame in there. If Notre Dame has said that there's 4, and then let's just hypothetically say that as typically does happen, Cincinnati this year, we've seen Michigan State, we've seen Washington go in there. You usually have one other rando team that shows up out of nowhere that says, "Hey, we'd like to participate this
I
year."
do wonder if the Pac-12 finally having a legit, like high-profile candidate for the college football playoff would help force their hand because nobody really cared. There have been teams snubbed, but it's never undefeated teams really. And if it was an undefeated team, it was like UCF
Right.
or some team that no one really cared about. But if you come down to it where there's 2 SEC teams, Alabama and Oklahoma, and then Southern Cal's undefeated, Notre Dame's undefeated, and you have and then Ohio State, and you have 5 like big brand name teams, and you want the West Coast represented. I know college football wants the West Coast represented because they've pretty much checked out of college football. They only people in the South are getting into the college football playoff right now because they're just completely dominating it. So I would think that they would appreciate having a little more geographical diversity there.
Yeah, and I mean the other thing is, and I think we all know this name brand. When you have a committee making selections, name brand is going to matter.
Yep.
And look, I think they did the right thing this year by putting an undefeated Cincinnati team in the playoff. But what name brands in the Big 12 are necessarily going to excite you if they've only got one loss? Is it going to be a Baylor? Does Oklahoma State really? I guess
It's no one.
I guess, yeah, maybe the attraction of Mike Gundy, but no, you're exactly right. And that's why you see this deal with Luke Fickle. And look, if somebody wants to buy him out in the SEC, I don't know who could end up, maybe, I don't know.
I don't know if he'd come to the SEC.
It's a good question.
He's a Big Ten guy at heart. That's everything that people that know him talk about is just like, he is an Ohio guy.
Well, and it does feel like, I don't know where you follow the NFL coaching circles and rumors closer than I do. I don't know where the Ryan Day to the NFL talk has come from. Has that come from Ohio State and Ryan Day? Has that come from, say, this past year, the Chicago Bears, where, what is it, Matt Eberflus? We're going to have a lot of fun with that name over the next year or 2 or 3.
Flus.
Yeah,
I
call
think
him
I've heard a lot of that.
Flutie.
I think it's coming from the Bears fans.
You think it was Bears fans
I
that
think
just wanted
so,
Ryan
because,
Day?
they wanted Pat Fitzgerald too.
Yes.
Like that was a natural connection. Like, well, he's already in Chicago. He's built Northwestern into something that is better than they've ever been before. They're legit. They're a legit program now, and there were all sorts of rumors of Pat Fitzgerald, and I think he got a raise or an extension, and then the Ryan Day rumors started. And I don't know where the rumors of him being unsatisfied in any way were from Ohio State. I had never really gotten that vibe from him, but I think it might have been some Ohio people just saying that he feels like more of an NFL guy in general.
Well, I think the other part of it is you're going to see more coaches, I think, successful coaches that do not want to deal with the recruiting and the name, image, likeness, and everything that college football is turning into. We talk about whether the name, image, likeness ruins college football. I genuinely think that there are always going to be more coaches that, as this thing continues to escalate and grow, and we saw Jimbo Fisher with the impassioned "we didn't do anything wrong" plea on signing day, and talking about the rumors of what Texas A&M may or may not have spent on name, image, likeness to get the recruiting class they did. I don't know. Not every coach is going to have the option to go to the NFL.
No.
But the ones that do, and you would think Ryan Day, I mean, there's a reason Jim Harbaugh very badly wanted that Vikings job.
Yeah.
And, it's hard to believe that if he doesn't have another successful season, somebody in the NFL doesn't make a move and say, all right, yeah, come on back down. We'll hang out together and you can now coach our football team. And then that would open a job, like, say, for a Luke Fickle. But Ryan Day's another guy. How much do you want to continue dealing with recruiting and name, image, likeness, and kids now being able to come into your program and transfer within a year?
It is going to be interesting because not all the NFL head coach salaries are public, but it is, I think, been rumored that Bill Belichick is making between $15 and $20 million a year. So the best college coaches are probably going to want to go test their hands at the NFL. And would anybody be content to be a coordinator in the NFL over a head coach at a mid-level Power 5 school? I don't know. Maybe it's an easy, pretty cushy job being a coordinator. All you have to worry about is one side of the ball, and yeah, it's year round, but it's a much easier job than being on the road all the time. And I guess to combat that, we saw this was the biggest jump in head coach salaries in one cycle ever,
for college
right?
football.
What we went from like $5 million a year for a good coach, and then obviously Saban and Dabo are making more than everyone, to unproven guys making $10 million a year, or just coveted guys making $10 million a year. It's not going to be probably that long before a coach threatens to leave for the NFL because they hate this, and the school says, all right, well, we get it. The quality of life isn't as good. You work year round and you have to deal with kids and people transferring, and it's a pain. So, here's $17 million a year to be a head coach at this college.
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, kind of as you said, you look across the board, and right now, college football coaches, they're back on the grind. Now they can't go out and see recruits. They're not traveling. But again, you're having to be in the office. You're having to work. I'm assuming that pretty much all 32 teams now, obviously, definitely coming off of the Super Bowl, I would assume that the Rams and the Bengals coaches are getting a little bit of free time to go to somewhere where it's warmer and maybe more enjoyable. But I'm assuming that most NFL coaches are on a little bit of a vacation right now.
It's going to be more after the draft, because this is also a busy time of the year where season's over. Now you have to dive into draft. So after April, they'll get maybe a month or so break between come back for OTAs and whatnot, but they'll get most of the the late spring to summer off, or I guess early summer.
It's definitely something that we'll continue to monitor. But
But
again,
that's why I mean the college with the transfer portal, there is no off season now because
no,
even when there are recruiting breaks, the transfer portal is still going.
I agree with you. It's going to be very interesting to continue to follow and see because again, my expectation is once we get through spring practice, it's going to be a whole nother
Yeah.
recruiting cycle for the transfer portal because you're going to have guys who go in and they don't win the starting position, quarterback position. Look at Georgia with Brock Vandergriff, and then there's Gunnar Stockton, and then obviously Stetson Bennett is back. South Carolina obviously has a lot of quarterbacks, but that's still going to work its way out. There's a lot, and there's other positions across the board throughout college football where we're going to come out of spring practice, and guys are going to go, well, wait a minute, this isn't necessarily going the way I thought it would be. Coach promised I was going to have playing time after I sat out for 1 year or 2 years, and
Mhm.
now they've brought in another guy here or another guy there. It's going to all be very
Or
interesting to see.
or if there's like an injury, then the coaches say, "All right, well, we need to replace this guy," and so they start looking out in the portal. Quarterback injuries could be a big thing too.
803-404-6100. Again, how you can join us this morning if you'd like to. You can also hop on the Buford Lending live stream where I guess Alan is pointing out that we do need some heat in the studio. No, it's cold. Jen's in the sauna that is our producing room. She's always complaining about how hot it is in there. I'm in the wintry mix of the studios, entirely different. So if you want to weigh in,
It's impossible to make both
it is
studios the perfect
impossible.
temperature.
And
Yeah. No.
I don't know how they're connected, but it's never happened before. It's
and
always hot in the production
They
room.
really should be on 2 different
Yeah.
units just because you have windows and, so there's not as much insulation in there. I have a bunch of equipment in here, so it really is not a fair mix, but it's more fun to pick on you.
Yeah, yeah. So you can go to the Buford Lending live stream and be a part of that. Go to 1075 The Game YouTube page and click and subscribe. Join us there. You can get involved as well. 803-404-6100. We'll get back into some NFL discussion. Patrick talking about the Kyler Murray situation that's kind of developing a little bit. Also, right now, Aaron Donald has continues to stay in the news about potentially retiring. Patrick, we'll get your take on that. And on the live stream, Patrick said something that was just kind of interesting as it pertains to younger quarterbacks earlier. We were talking about young quarterbacks that could develop over the next few years and be part of, this kind of Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, obviously throw Joe Burrow in that. Maybe you throw Kyler Murray in that. Patrick said he likes the upside of Trevor Lawrence more than he does of Mac Jones. We'll talk a little bit about that, get back into some NFL talk, South Carolina and Mississippi tonight as well over in Oxford. So a lot to cover here over the next 35 minutes. If you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100. That's how you can be a part of the program. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Yeah, you hear us talking a little bit about the difference here in the heating and air units. It works perfectly fine. It's not a matter of working fine. It's just that in this studio, the heat works perfectly fine. In Jen's portion of the studio, the air conditioner, great in my portion of the studio. That's why I'm dressed like I'm going on an Arctic expedition here after the program. At the house, though, the Gunner household, it's in great shape. Why? Because I did what you need to do. Called AAA Heating and Air and got them out to the house for a one-time inspection. If you just call them up and say, I heard Bill Gunner on 107.5 The Game, $59. That's all it'll cost to have a one-time inspection. Make sure that heating and air unit is working properly because let's be honest, you're familiar with South Carolina weather. You may need the heat in the morning when it's in the 30s. You may need the air conditioner in the afternoon when it's in the 80s. That's just how it works around here. We get the funky weather, but with AAA Heating and Air, making sure your heating and air unit is working, everything will be perfectly fine. Call them today, 803-677-1500. If there's an issue, guess what? AAA Heating and Air has got you taken care of. They'll offer you a $1,500 rebate to buy back your old unit. Then no money down, 0% financing for those that qualify. And on top of all that, a 15-year parts and labor warranty. So don't allow your heating and air unit to go out on you. Call AAA Heating and Air today. Tell them you heard it here on 107.5 The Game with Bill Gunner. Why? Why? Why a 10K at 4:15 this morning? What bet did you lose on a Tuesday?
Yeah.
On a Tuesday at
And when it's
4:15 in
cold.
the morning.
All
In
right, so that
Tobaccoville.
24-pack of cookies yesterday had 8 oatmeal raisin, 8 macadamia nut, and 8 chocolate chip. How is all that's left chocolate chip?
Those macadamia and nut were delicious.
The oatmeal raisins got eaten before the chocolate chip?
We have a weird group that comes in here afterwards.
Chocolate chip should have been the first thing to
I
go.
think Tommy Moody's a big oatmeal raisin guy.
I think, yeah.
I don't know. Does anybody know what happened in the Maryland-Iowa women's basketball game?
I don't know because the Iowa player Caitlin Clark didn't play particularly well. She had 10 turnovers. I saw Dawn's tweet. I guess just because the narrative has been trending towards Caitlin Clark being the National Player of the Year because she's been putting up 30-point double-doubles every night. But I don't know why last night because she didn't play well last night. And Iowa lost.
So, Brian, are you some of those people who are wearing those lights and you're flashing as they run? Have you seen that in the mornings? You see the people with the runners that have some kind of a vest that has like blinking lights and they're all colorful. I want to do it just for that so I could be cute.
What do you want to do? You want to
Those
wear
people who are running, long distances in the mornings, or some of those running clubs or something where you'll see them and they have the vests, they have the multicolored lights, and they're all looking bright and perky.
You think that
There
is
you go.
what will help you look? You can wear that anytime if you're going just for very cute. I
I
mean, you
could
can
do
wear
that.
that
I
in
could wear
here.
that in here. Turn all the lights off in here.
Yeah, you just be in there. I mean, it'd look kind of like a techno club in here.
It is cool in here when the lights are off and you just have the glow of the board. I love that.
Okay.
Kind of a geek. And Bill Reggie Anderson says hi. He has all kinds of happy things to say about you in advance of the NASCAR season.
It's amazing that Reggie's up at this time in the morning. I mean, it's good to see he's doing something instead of sleeping in again and then making himself breakfast.
So pretty much what you do.
Yeah. You've seen me sleep in past, what is it, 5:15 multiple times here, and then you obviously see me making breakfast every morning here in the studio. This morning there was a cookie I ate.
We used to on the live stream.
Well, yeah, that was enjoyable. I might go back to that.
Don't tease me like that.
Oh, that's fine.
Who is they?
What are we referring to?
The royal they. All they talked about was Caitlin Clark and some other players, not talking about Aaliyah at all. I don't know who they is, but I've seen Aaliyah talked about a lot on Twitter. Not just from South Carolina fans. A lot of people said she should be the National Player of the Year.
I'm trying to think of what I was watching last night. I think I was back into curling again.
So everyone. I don't know. I think
the men were taking on somebody. I don't know if they won or not. I was once again unthawing from soccer practice. ESPN2.
I think Carolina fans get sensitive on broadcasts.
Well, I think Dawn was the one that kind of stirred it up there with. I saw a tweet.
But I see this for all sorts of games. Like, oh my gosh, the announcers of this game are against Carolina. Like, for every football game, I see people saying that. It's just not really the case. I saw people talking about it for the Duke's Mayo Bowl. That the broadcasters were biased. I thought the Duke's Mayo Bowl was awesome. The broadcasters were awesome. I do see her stats being thrown up on SportsCenter all the time, but maybe her individually versus South Carolina just as a team. I think South Carolina as a team being so great might be hurting Aaliyah.
8:26 on a Tuesday morning, February the 15th. Hope you are doing well this morning as we carry you through. Again, been talking a lot of NFL, talking some Major League Baseball, and obviously the potential to skip opening day. Anything you've missed, though, such as John Whittle talking a little Gamecock baseball. If you want to hear the latest and greatest on what's going on with South Carolina's baseball team, and you missed John there, it's around 7:40 this morning. Go to our podcast page, 1075thegame.com. Click on the podcast tab at the top. You can listen to any interview, not just on this program, but any interview that we have out there. So you can go and do that. Again, John Whittle joining us earlier this morning, and some of the things he talked about, we'll get into in just a second. Also get back into that Kyler Murray situation there in Arizona. I want to remind you, Heath Klein will be out broadcasting live from 3 p.m. until 6 p.m. on Thursday this week, February 17th, to celebrate the grand opening. Where'd Jen go? I got nothing here. Did you read this?
I don't know that I did.
I'll show it to you in the break. Heath Klein will be somewhere.
Was it making you think?
Come read it. Come get it.
Where is Heath going to be?
I don't know. Here, you want to read that?
Sure.
See if you can read that.
Heath Klein will be out broadcasting live from 3 p.m. until 6 p.m. on Thursday, February 17th to celebrate. Stop by for prizes, including memberships,
Must be
washes, and
celebrating the
detail
grand
kits.
opening.
Uh-huh.
A lot of the time, Heath does the show from home, so just stop by
I'll
his
get you
house.
some updated info.
Stop by his house. We'll tweet out the address.
Yeah, we'll let you know. Yeah, there you go. Thank you for validating that.
Stop
Well,
by to celebrate.
We'll tell you where Heath Klein will be. Just stay tuned. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll keep you updated on that there. Also, I guess I'll go ahead and tell you about the 2022 1075 The Game Spring Golf Open, March 18th at the Windermere Club in Blythewood. 10 a.m. shotgun start. Two-person captain's choice teams, $200 per team. You can go to 1075thegame.com for registration info. We will have great raffle prizes. Closest to the pin, $1 million hole sponsored by Buford Lending. Plus, breakfast and lunch. All entries get a free golf membership until March 31st. Again, it is the 2022 1075 The Game Spring Open, Friday, March 18th at the Windermere Club. Go ahead and sign up now, 1075thegame.com. Again, we will have two-person teams, $200 per team, two-person captain's choice. And if you go ahead and you sign up, you can get a free golf membership at the Windermere Club until March 31st.
Do you want me to
Matt-
tell you a little bit about Heath?
Is he going to
Where's he
Tommy's
gonna be?
Express Car Wash on Divine?
He is going to be there. It's a grand
Thanks,
opening.
Matt W. Matt W. texted us and let us know where Heath's going to be.
Thank you.
We don't know.
Thank you.
His
Yeah.
workers don't know, but
Go ahead, Jen. You read the whole thing then.
Yeah, when I print this stuff out because Bill can't seem to log in, so I try to print them out every morning. And I think I was doing some copying and pasting, got a little distracted, so I did not give you complete information. I apologize for that. Usually, you can make yourself look kind of goofy, but I helped you this time, and I apologize.
I'm like Ron Burgundy. You just give me something, and I'll read on air
Trust me.
what's in front of me. Apparently, I will just start
Heath
reading.
will be out to celebrate.
Yeah.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
Yeah. I actually used to do that when I was a promotions director at another station in town because I got tired of people not prepping, kind of like what you did. Like you didn't read it ahead of time. You just like, I'll look at it and read
It's
it.
my
to mess
complete
people
faith
up.
in you that has completely ruined.
I know. Well, it's updated now for tomorrow. But anyway, He's going to be at Tommy's Express Car Wash. It's their grand opening, 4700 Divine Street in Columbia. He'll be there 3 to 6 on Thursday. Going to have all kinds of prizes like memberships and washes and detail kits. And the grand opening celebration is also going to be kicked off. They're going to support the Richland County Sheriff's Department Canine Unit. So 50% of the number one works wash sales are going to be donated to support that mission. So that's pretty cool.
One
That's
thing
gonna be
about
all
Heath
day on
Klein,
Thursday.
very dirty car.
he
Very
does
dirty
have, yeah,
car.
he is. Yeah,
People don't know that, but he's a vacuum. There's a lot of crumbs on the floor, I imagine.
he does. He travels a lot.
Travels a lot.
He's all over. Go see
A lot of
Heath.
country music.
Go see Heath there. Yeah, we get out and see him 3 to 6 on Thursday, February 17th. Tommy's Express Car Wash. Will be a good time. Again, a lot going on there. You can
So sorry, Bill.
get some memberships, some washes, and some detail kits. That's okay, Jen. You're entitled to mess up every now and then. Tell you what, let's just follow that up. May as well just follow that incredible segment portion up with let's get out to the Love Chevy phone lines. Gamecock Larry is up next. Let's just go out to him and see what happens next. Gamecock Larry, how you doing this morning?
Well, I'm doing all right. I just got the message. Well, they told me yesterday something wrong with my left. I don't know. They said it's gonna get worse, and it ain't gonna get no better. But they get a bunch of pain pills. I ain't never taking pain pills, but I'm taking these. But I don't see how you two guys get along when Jim isn't there. I'm gonna be honest with you. If it would, I don't know.
Cookies. We have cookies.
Boy, Jim makes a whole lot better in that. No, I ain't gonna say that about you guys. I love all of y'all, all three of you. But have you heard anything on the Harson deal? I seen him at the Auburn game Saturday, I think it was. He was standing up in the middle of the crowd cheering and going on. And somebody right behind him said he ain't going nowhere with a sign. Yeah, are they going to, well, have you heard of this thing? Are they any closer saying they're going to keep him or are they going to let him go? And also, I just got a text message from somebody said this is Frank Martin to Ray Tanner. I want an extension. Let me tell you, whoever sent that to me, you can talk about my coach, you can talk about my players, and I don't like it. But when you start talking about my athletics director, I am really PO'd. I'm coming after you, Bo. Talk to you later. Go Gamecocks. Tell me about Harson. And if you heard anything, let me know. I'm listening to you all day. Go Gamecocks.
Okay.
That's where the line is. You can talk about the coach. You can talk about the kids.
Not
Don't you dare talk about the
athletic director. Untouchable.
That is too far. You have crossed the line now.
To answer Gamecock Larry's question, it now basically Auburn has said they will retain Brian Harsin after doing an investigation into the program. They actually announced that on Friday that he will be returning. He had been in limbo for about 8 days after there was all kinds of different reports, but Brian Harsin is back. Now, the question will be more about what does his staff look like? What does his team look like? Obviously, you lose Bo Nix in the offseason. They did recruit Zach Calzada, the Texas A&M quarterback, who obviously made a name beating Alabama. They still have TJ Finley out there. They have Tank Bigsby, but they've lost Derek Mason, their defensive coordinator, Austin Davis, the other offensive coordinator who was replacing Mike Bobo. It's a mess down there, Patrick. And, you know, we're not going to spend a ton of time sitting here discussing Auburn this morning, but I will just bring up this. When you look at their schedule for 2022, it's not exactly one that leads itself to believing that things are going to get a whole lot better. They open the season with Mercer and San Jose State. I'm going to be under the impression they're going to win that game, but they have a return game, Penn State and James Franklin coming to the Plains on September 17th. They've got LSU. Auburn's got at Georgia October 8th, at Mississippi on the 15th. They finally get a bye week before Arkansas, Mississippi State, Texas A&M, Western Kentucky, and Alabama. It's hard for me to look at that schedule right now, knowing what I know about Auburn and everything that's been going on, and say, yep, Auburn will win 6 games next year.
Yeah, I would agree. It's just not good times there. And I am looking at the videos that Gamecock Larry mentioned of Brian Harsin at the basketball game, I guess this weekend. This must have been Saturday. It's got a nice tan going.
Okay, wow.
Did well in Mexico, and they were giving a Harsin chant. The student sections were giving a Harsin chant. I thought they all hated him.
Who knows what?
But I guess maybe they saw some photos when they Twitter searched his name and they were impressed.
803-404-6100, how you can be a part of the program. You can go to the Buford Lending live stream as well and join us there. Let's get back into this quickly. Aaron Donald, odds are you think I'm looking back here, someone bringing it up, I believe on the text line, that this just feels like a ploy by Aaron Donald to get a little bit of an extension, maybe a little bit more money over the next few years. He is 30 years old, and Aaron Donald seems like a pretty smart guy. He seems like a guy who maybe does not want to play into his late 30s. And the current contract situation from him, he's due just a little bit more money. He's making a nice little chunk of change. He's due.
Not nice enough.
I was going to say he's making a nice chunk of change. But for a player his caliber, for those wondering, it's $9.25 million next year. It's $14 million in 2023. Patrick, that'll put him at 32 years of age, and he's actually under contract through age 33 with another $14 million. That's cheap money for maybe the best defensive player in the game. And again, he gets to be an unrestricted free agent at 34 years of age. The opportunity to make 20 plus million won't be there anymore. Do you think this is a ploy to try and work a renegotiated contract?
I think I would be surprised if that was the plan from the jump. But if he was mentioning mulling retirement, I think he genuinely meant it. But if now he could say, look, I don't want to come back and put my body through this for $9 million. And I do want to be appreciated. I did just win you a Super Bowl. So, look, I want to play another year. I still love football, but I need $15 million. I mean, that he would be well within his right to do that because, I mean, I'm looking at some of these salaries and I don't think, where did you see 9.5? Is that his base salary?
That is
because he's making around $20 million.
That is according to, that is his, what is this? That's their website, like Spotrac.com, where you can see that. Yeah, base salary is 9.25.
Yeah, but he's making 20. It's 22.5.
He's still getting part of his original signing bonus, which is $8 million added on. But I think again the big question becomes,
well, he's the fifth highest paid defensive player in the NFL. So I'm looking at right now the annual salaries of the highest paid defensive players. TJ Watt's at $28 million. He's the highest paid. Joey Bosa, $27 million. Myles Garrett, $25 million. Khalil Mack, $23.5 million. Aaron Donald, $22.5 million. So, and then he's only making $1.5 million more than DeForest Buckner, who plays the same position as him, and he's so much better than DeForest Buckner. It almost makes more sense. The edge guys making more because they do rack up sacks, and it's kind of just the sexier position. That's what always has kind of held Aaron Donald back from getting the respect he deserves, probably because he plays on the interior, but he just is so dominant there. I wouldn't really blame him if he said, all right, well, I need to be the highest paid defensive player in the league if you want me to come back. I've played for a relatively team friendly deal for this long, and I want to feel the love for my last couple of years.
I think the question would be, if you're the Los Angeles Rams, can you make it work where you keep everybody together for 1 year? The Rams basically coming out yesterday and admitting, hey, we're going to try and run this thing back one more year, which you would assume if they're going to do that, they're going to commit a lot of money. And then this will be kind of a Tampa Bay situation. Everybody's coming back. We're going to try and get Stafford one more Super Bowl, OBJ. Now, rumors coming out yesterday. I never saw it confirmed. I didn't look late in the afternoon that Odell Beckham Jr. tore his ACL. Yeah. Did you see that confirmed anywhere?
I didn't see it was confirmed, but that's what I mean. They're usually pretty good with tests.
I didn't see the Rams or OBJ put that out there, but the Rams appear to be on their way to now trying to re-sign everybody, get everybody back in the fold one more year. But then after that, it looks like the thing will be blown up, and that might be the direction we go now with money paid to free agents and how organizations run. You get everybody together for a 2-3 year run.
Yeah.
And then you say, okay, now we got to go back to square one.
Well, and we've seen a lot of teams do it. I mean, the Saints did it. They tried to do it for years, and now it's coming back to bite them, and there's no Sean Payton, and they just owe so much money, and they're not going to be able to hold it together. So I do wonder if ultimately the Rams are looking at this and saying, let's chase it while we've got Stafford and while Aaron Donald's still the best player in the league, and we'll try and keep trading and trading and trading. And then ultimately, when this is over, when Donald retires, when Stafford leaves, we'll just accept that we're going to suck for a couple years, and then we'll just start from the ground up again. Is that already in their future plans of contend for a couple years, keep the window open, and then just embrace the suck for a few years and tank, and hopefully we draft the next great thing? Maybe it is, and I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that as an overall plan, but we've seen some teams do it and go all in like that. This isn't going to be the Bucs though, because I mean, they're already losing their left tackle. That's big right there. I don't know how they're going to replace him, especially when they're sitting at the number 30. Well, no, they're not sitting at the number 32 pick because they don't have a first-round pick. So with a third-round pick, I think is their first pick. I don't know how they're going to replace Andrew Whitworth, especially with no money. They can't go out and sign a left tackle. So not sure what the plan is there. There's just no way they're going to get better. I mean, the Bucs brought back every single player.
Right.
That's impossible for the Rams. I mean, they not to say they can't contend and win a Super Bowl again next year because they were substantially more talented than the Bengals, and they still will be more talented than the Bengals next year, but they're not going to be as good as this year's version of the team. So there's a lot of teams in the NFC that are on the way down. Like the Packers are not going to be as good as they were this year. The Rams are not going to be as good as they were this year. The Bucs are clearly not going to be as good as they were this year. A lot of teams in the NFC are trending downwards right now.
Anonymous texter sends in, and this is a good question. He asks about the Joe Burrow injury.
We haven't seen.
Huh?
I haven't seen anything.
No, he's not put anything out. They're not saying anything. And I will say what he's talking about occurred there right around the 10-minute mark. I think it was the final sack that I think it was Von Miller that got him and twisted up. And Burrow limped off the field, kind of laid on the ground, if people remember it. But if you watch his face, they had the
screaming.
up close. He is, screaming in pain. And I do wonder. I hadn't thought about it again because obviously then you had the rest of the game and Burrow came back out. And yesterday was the OBJ news and some other stuff. And I hadn't thought about Joe Burrow. Nothing has been reported about it. Burrow did say after the game that he was not coming out.
Yeah, they said he refused medical attention.
I don't know. That's a great question in regards to Joe Burrow because I think he went back in and played. And had a chance. I know also yesterday there was the pictures of Burrow trying to escape Aaron Donald at the very end and Jalen Ramsey falling down trying to guard Jamar Chase. And if Burrow could have had about another, probably about a second and a half.
Also, Samaje Perine not diving for the ball was a little bit weird.
Yeah, but I go to this. That's a great question because the Burrow thing, you hope it's nothing significant to him. And again, he went back out there and played.
But it was the opposite leg. It was the opposite leg of the ACL he tore the year before. So, I mean, I guess if he did tear his ACL, if that's the worst case, I mean, won't be back for the beginning of the season. But
you just don't, for a guy that we just spent 2 weeks getting excited about for the future, you don't want that.
That's why you spend all your money. You bring in the best offensive linemen in free agency this year, whether it's Brandon Sheriff, Teron Armstead, whoever. You bring them in. And you use your first draft pick on an offensive lineman as well. Don't kill this kid before he's ever had a chance to bring you back to a Super Bowl. I know Bill Polian, who was the GM of the Colts yesterday, said if the Bengals aren't careful, he's going to be the next Andrew Luck.
It may be. 803-404-6100. We'll wrap up the program here. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game. Sure. If you're kind of like Joe Burrow and you've been suffering from pain, but maybe more specific to you, chronic joint pain, you've had problems with your knees, your back, shoulders, hips, toes, then don't listen to people who've been telling you that steroid shots, pain pills, and surgery are your only options. Call QC Kinetics today for a free consultation on how you can get back to living the life you want to live. 803-281-6860. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in using biologic therapies to repair damaged tissue in your aching joints, and the success rate is absolutely staggering. It's a unique treatment protocol with natural biologic agents, mostly from your own body, and these powerful, highly concentrated growth factors are put directly into your affected joints, and they go to work to soothe the inflammation and restore damaged tissue. Find out for yourself what exactly QC Kinetics can do for you today with a free consultation. 803-281-6860. No surgery, no drugs, no downtime. QC Kinetics will get you back to living the life you want to live instantly with their biologic therapies that help repair damaged tissue in your aching joints. 281-6860. Again, all consultations are free. No steroids, no pain pills, no surgery. You have other options in life. Call QC Kinetics today to find out what exactly those are. 803-281-6860.
That is a strong comparison. Gamecock Larry's bodyguard. Anytime someone criticizes Ray Tanner, that's a direct shot at Gamecock Larry, and he needs defending. I never saw the video. I saw it got taken down. I just saw the chatter about it.
All right. Tuesday morning is over. That's all we need. Kevin Hart is going back out on tour, huh? I think Matt Howard put out a tweet that either he didn't know he was being prepared for anesthesia, that he is scheduled for 10 a.m. in the operating room. Wrapping up the Tuesday morning episode of the early game. Jen Jensen, Patrick Perret, Bill Gunner. We will come back and do it all again tomorrow. And tomorrow we will talk a little bit about South Carolina's basketball game tonight, 7 o'clock. You can hear it right here on SEC. On 107.5 The Game. You can also catch it on ESPNU. And Patrick, we'll see 4.5 to 4 point underdog tonight. But this is a Mississippi team that's been reeling. And South Carolina, you mentioned it, a win tonight would give them the opportunity to have a 500 regular season. I know that that's not what fans want. I'm not telling you that you should be happy, thrilled, or excited, but at least it's not tearing down a program if there is a change coming in the future.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not just guaranteeing 500. It's just guaranteeing that you'll be
Regular season.
no worse than 500.
Well, regular season, you go and you lose one game in the SEC tournament,
Sure.
That would be dropping 6 straight, but obviously opportunities there. But certainly you need to see good performances from Keyshawn Bryant tonight. Jermaine Cousinart's played better of late, and Devin Carter. If you get those 3 going, and then James Reese gives you some consistency, it seems like a good opportunity. But South Carolina 2-15 on the road in Oxford at Mississippi. It's going to be a tall task.
That's got to be the worst of any opposing SEC arena, right?
I think
maybe Rupp.
They've played obviously in Kentucky more, but
or maybe Knoxville as well. I don't know. For a team that's not a strong program, that is crazy stat.
Alabama is a place where South Carolina has not performed well either, and they go to Alabama not this coming Saturday, but the following Saturday, and that's not a place where South Carolina has been very good. Is down in Tuscaloosa. I've got their record again according to this at just 2-11 in Tuscaloosa, so we're not really talking like a lot better setup there, but we'll get more into that. But tonight, Gamecocks and the Rebels there again. You can hear it 107.5 The Game right here, starting at 7 o'clock. You can also check it out on ESPNU as well. We'll talk about that tomorrow. We'll get into some more NFL and count down the days to what a lot of you label as the true opening day. Gamecocks and UNC Greensboro Friday over at Founders Park. More Winter Olympics tonight. You got anything you're going to get into?
I don't even know what's going on tonight, but I'll watch it.
Curling. Jen has sent you did. Jen sent me the list of curling events for tonight.
Match?
There's a lot of curling events, by the way. It's a very, very dominant sport in Winter Olympics. Thank you for listening. Pearson Fowler is up next on 107.5 The Game.
Outstanding.
All right, everybody. It's been another good show. Anthony, thank you for being there from the beginning. RL, you too. Yes, York, it was a special Gamecock Larry edition this morning.
All right. Everybody go be great. Have a good Tuesday.